Everything he said, everything he done, don't you know it's been haunting me? Took a shallow blow from behind, you know it. Too bad that I'm still walking, babe. And I knew it, that you would be wrong, but my heart made a fool of me. Think I'm done, but baby when I'm done, you know a different side of me. You're here for a fight, and I'm ready. As hard as you try, you can't bruise my armor. Can't bruise my armor. Give you dips first shot, take a hit and run. No point hiding, I'll find a way. Better hurts you to know that I'm finding my own. So much better without you, babe. You're here for a fight, then I'm ready. As hard as you try, you can't bruise my armor. Can't bruise my armor. You can't take me down when I'm steady. I'm built from the ground. You can't bruise my armor. Can't bruise my armor. You're all out of rounds. If I was you, yeah, I'd be scared of me. You're out of rounds and out of scratching me. What goes around comes back around until you're upside down. Tables turning now. If I was you, yeah, I'd be scared of me. You're out of rounds and out of scratching me. What goes around comes back around until you're upside down. Tables turning now. You're here for a fight, then I'm ready. As hard as you try, you can't bruise my armor. Can't bruise my armor. Can't bruise my armor. You can't take me down when I'm steady. I'm built from the ground. You can't bruise my armor. Can't bruise my armor. You're all out of rounds.
Take another tumble, running through the jungle. I know what you came for, but this is what you came for. Riding through the downtown, running from the countdown. I know what you came for, honey, but this is what you came for. Oh, I know I got no excuse, living a lie, but I'm telling the truth. Baby, I know I got no excuse, so cut me loose, cut me loose. This is what you came for, oh. 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 This is what you came for. Want another fast night, ready for a fast ride. I know what you came for. This is what you came for. Looking for a front seat, then come around these streets. I know what you came for, but this is what you came for. Baby, I know I got no excuse, living a lie, but I'm telling the truth. Baby, I know I got no excuse, so cut me loose, cut me loose. and get me. I'm over here. I'm over here.
want to see if Schalke is going to try the same setup, more scaling options, or if they're going to go for more early game here. Because you're right, with G2, we don't even know what the right choice is for the team because they've messed up both the late game and the early game. We want to see them come back, find some structure, find some consistency, and it's kind of a similar story for Schalke.
For sure, but it's important for G2 that Vitality lost earlier today. They got stumped. That means now G2 win, they tie with Splice in second place, and that's then the fight for that second place for now.
And it's important because if they finish with the same record, they're 1-1 in the head-to-head. They will force a tiebreaker to Fischio.
Now, if you are Schalke, after yesterday's game where the late game or the team fighting worked for you, Upset had a great game, I think you could go towards that style again. I actually asked for more like aggressive picks for solo laners, more creativity. But if they've only been practicing this style for so long, then maybe that is the only thing they can play, and then they have to go for it. And I think Tristana is one of those picks that can give you fine early game, but also late game insurance, which is necessary.
Powerful pick in Europe for sure. Back in the hands of Upset. Played this the last time these two teams went toe-to-toe.
Also important to note that G2, they don't play Zyra Khan, clearly. It's not been picked once by them all split long, so it is going to be Varus picked by Yanen, and it's a good item spike, AD carry, and it's a fine laning phase for him, but it's a tough champion to carry on. And that's where, again, it then shifts all the focus on Perks and Wonder to be the big carries.
And this is interesting. Schalke going back to putting Pride on the Kazakhs, it really did not work out for them in the early weeks. Swapping the Sejuani was one of the better options. G2 have now taken that away. As you said, Hjarnan gets the Varus, a very comfortable pick to push lane. And Fischio, this tells me that it's not about the bot lane for G2, kind of as expected. They're looking to put the onus to carry somewhere else.
It's never been about the bot lane with this lineup from G2 Esports. And that's such a shift from when they had Sven and Mithy, and they could always rely on the late game of those two guys. Azir, blind. Fun fact, a lot of coaches like to say, oh, this is a great time to pick Azir. And they say that every game because, yeah, it's almost always a great time to pick Azir. And it's locked in blind, and Perks gets to respond with Corki. So we get a lot of scaling being matched on both sides in the mid lane. But this Kazakhs pick here, Broxa, picked up some early kills on it in the last game we saw with Fnatic. Can see the exact same thing for Pride.
1 and 2 so far for Pride. 1 and 4 for Nuke Duck on the Azir. So not the most successful picks, but ones that are incredibly powerful. We have to see if this is the game where they're able to execute. Now, however, no top laners picked, so we're going to see some of them banned. Trundle, Camille taken off the table.
And I want to mention Cho'Gath, because both these teams struggle when it comes to securing Baron, or struggles when it comes to consistently win late game team fights. And then my good friend Cho'Gath makes it easier. 1, feast the Baron. 2, feast the tank in the team fight. Both, oh, so wonderful if that's where you're struggling. Sion is also available in this draft, but with the Trundle ban and the Shen ban from G2, it's really telling me they're just gonna blind pick either Sion or Cho'Gath instantly. Oh.
Cho'Gath an option.
I think you should take it, man. You need it if you're G2.
And you don't want to give Schalke a very good tank, because you look at Corki, you look at Varus, that is a ton of magic damage. Sejuani as well as magic damage. You're not diversifying your damage types. It means that Cho'Gath can cut through.
They might get Baron now.
There it is. Varus good at taking Baron. Jankos doesn't even have to smite. Wonder can do it. And now,
could we get Visichachi on a counter pick?
This is what we asked for. When we said, Schalke, we want to see you improve. We said, put onus on individual players. You said earlier today, no one in Europe wants to take the carry matchup.
My heart.
You're right. No one in Europe wants to take the carry matchup.
No one wants. They want to just play a tank. And it's Visichachi Maokai. Never something we really put together. Not an iconic duo at all.
No. Dog champs for the former Spring Split champion. Or Spring Split MVP, rather. Not a champion.
More tanks. More tanks. Get more tanks in here.
So to Fischio, we got a lot of engage for Schalke. We've got 3 damage threats. On the opposite side for G2, we kind of have a damage threat in Cho'Gath, and we have the carry duo of Perks and Hjarnan. Who has the edge here? What are they looking to do?
Okay, love Cho'Gath on one side. Makes it easier to focus on the tank in the team fight or secure a Baron. But on the other side, the Azir Tristana combo, I think it's going to be easier to execute for Schalke specifically than a Varus in the late game for Hjarnan. It is a tough thing to play, especially against things like Alistar, who can always get in range to WQ. Just combo straight onto them, pop the ulti, and Varus then suddenly has to just kite around in fights and doesn't get to sit and just land a million auto attacks. So in that case, there are good things on both sides, but man, it comes down to big team fights. It comes down to killing the tanks first with 4 carries 2 on each side, just hitting with whoever is right in front of them. Big, long, drawn-out team fights. Cho'Gath Feast might become the MVP.
It might be. I mean, we've got 2 carries, 3 tanks, basically, against 2 tanks and 3 carries. Time to find out what's superior here.
And time to find out how Pride can play on this Kha'Zix. I think he's had a bad split.
Absolutely.
It's been one of the big problems for Schalke that he's never really figured out how to play with this lineup or what exactly to do on the map. And when you put him on Kha'Zix in this like full-on just big team fights, it's hard to execute that Kha'Zix because it's so hard to find an opening in the late game fights. He needs to try and get some advantage early on.
Pressure on Schalke to early snowball. We've seen it count against them so many times, but the Schalke fan out proud. Look at that man. He loves this team. He wants to see them win. They go toe-to-toe with G2 Esports. Final game of Week 8, folks. And Deficio, Pride in the early game, man. This is so interesting to me. I mean, he went from Rengar one trick to, like, on Rockhat, doing all sorts of different stuff. Back to tank duty here on Schalke. Now back to Kha'Zix, a very aggressive champion. I really want to see what he can do.
Yeah, we know you can try and invade and duel the Sejuani 1v1. It's not super easy to kill her because she's so tanky and can often just dash away from you. And at the same time, when it comes to ganks, top lane could be a target. Maokai lockdown is great to set it up if you sneak in from the brush with a Kha'Zix. But then if the enemy jungler is there to counter gank you, very quickly it can get turned around. So it's not an easy game for Pride to play with the Kha'Zix here, but a lot of the tank junglers were banned away. Schalke banned 2, one was banned on the side of G2, and then they grabbed the Sejuani, so it kind of pinched the entire tank jungle pool.
Limiting the options, Pride going back to something more aggressive. We've seen the Maokai be very clutch the last few games it was played in EULCS in terms of setting up ganks on the top side of the map, so maybe it'll be easier for him. It's not a bluff, but it is strong.
Another setup is Alistar against Varus. Just talked about it before, how it's very hard for Varus to avoid getting comboed by an Alistar. And because Alistar then stays on top of him, no dashes from this Varus, you get to apply the stun from the E as well, and then suddenly there's a lot of change CC on a squishy AD carry. So Pride, I feel like, can look both mid and bot lane, where there is a CC setup for him. So it's not like Schalke have drafted a comp where they're like, yeah, we don't care about him because we don't want to even try and set him up to succeed. No, they do have some crowd control to help him out.
And it's interesting, Deficio, because both those lanes for G2 may just have to push. Because you see Varus very strong against these crit AD carries early on. So if they're pushed up, Pride has to pick which lane he wants to gank. And if he guesses wrong and he picks the lane with Jankos, it turns against him so quick. But if he guesses right, he can snowball a lane early on and give Schalke the victory they need.
Very quickly. And this day here, we had the top 5 teams play against the bottom 5 teams. So we could have had a situation where all top 5 teams just got a little bit further ahead, and all the bottom teams just stayed roughly the same, still tied in that 6th place, and no one got really an advantage in playoffs. But what's happened is Rocket and Giants both picked up wins. And Unicorns Love and H3K both lost. So we actually now have the situation where if Schalke lose to G2 Esports, they join H3K and Unicorns at the bottom, out of playoffs. A win behind the rest. But if they win,
they're right back into the thick of it.
Exactly.
They're right on the edge of their path to playoffs, 7-9 with the rest of the teams, that massive tie for 5th place. And for G2, they're still chasing Splice. They can't afford to misstep at all if they want that bye.
Let's see what happens early on here with Jankos moving around. Already killed the Rift Scuttler. He's pinging where he thinks Pride will be. Pride is fairly low on mana, but does have the blue buff. Sneaks in. This is what we talk about with top lane. Maokai's setup is so effective. Will they do something? Oh, I think they know there's a chance Jankos will be around, so they're not going to all in for any sort of gank. Because as we mentioned there with the counter gank, instantly Pride is dead. And then it's horrible for Schalke.
Bot lane for G2 actually backing off, conceding pressure to Schalke. Vander and Upstate able to push in for now. Good look for the team. Both supports not being too aggressive in the use of the minion dematerializer. May want to save a few stacks for later in the game. Kind of all is quiet in this game. Nukeduck does get a bit of pressure, uses it to lay down some vision.
It's like a lot of scaling on both sides. Mid lane is not going to be that much action between Azir and Corki. Cleanse as well from Nukeduck against Sejuani. So not a setup where we are expecting a ton of early game action. Or gives them more time to talk about Schalke specifically and how coming into this week after losing multiple games in a row, it felt like they were done. They were out of the race. But that's just not the case. And after winning yesterday, they have G2, then to play Fnatic next week. Those were 2 games when I looked at the schedule and said, okay, those are 2 losses for Schalke. So at maximum they can win 2 games out of the remaining 4. I don't believe that anymore. I think they have a legit chance of beating G2 today. And that might actually put them at 3 wins out of the last 4 games, and then they're potentially in playoffs.
So what's so terrifying about such a close season is without a couple wins to keep you ahead of the competition, every game matters. You don't get to sit on your high horse here at the end of the season for G2, despite having some very good games.
Yeah, and of course this means that Schalke have to win today, because with Fnatic and the way they're playing, that's not a realistic win for them next week. So this game is super important also just for that confidence. If you have losing and losing and losing, if you can get a 2-0 week here in this playoff race, that's fantastic for a team like Schalke. Let's see what happens. Pride and Jankos find each other for now.
Waiting around, both of them hovering around the mid lane, ready to make a difference there if necessary, but just playing chess with each other in terms of vision. Pride really not sure where Jankos is headed. Neither one of them, interestingly enough, has any camps, so they both have the free time to play vision tag with each other.
But because nothing happened top, Wonder, he sits with the winning matchup. This Cho'Gath can just perma-push 24/7. Bot lane is even, mid lane is even. So it's just Wonder at the moment getting advantage. That's something, G2, they've been missing this. And I talked about this yesterday in the post-game lobby, how it felt like after GP fell out of meta, it really hurt Wonder and G2 Esports, because suddenly they didn't have this champion that could get a big goal lead early, because Wonder played the laning phase well, and then also be a carry late game.
And if Wonder isn't performing, if he's not on those GPs, I feel like it puts even more onus onto Perks, because Hjarni isn't playing a carry champion. This game he's playing Vars. Yes, he can do an insane amount of damage, but it's not as Tristana, right? And when we look at the way that these guys...
he's just not performing like a big carry.
It's very true.
On one of the best teams, because like, if you are insanely good and on form, you can carry on Varus for sure in the late game, but I think Cho'Gath can do a little bit of what the GP can do well in the laning phase, get a bit of an advantage, and then be super valuable in the late game still. So it's not a big carry, but at least Wonder can be active from early on to late game, which is needed, because it's him and Perks who are the 2 big carries on G2.
All right, well, for now, Jankos very proactive in mapping out the early pathing of Pride. Despite Pride not finding a ton of success on this Kha'Zix pick in the past, Jankos still giving him the respect he deserves. Upset taking a bad trade there. Hjarni did controlling the lane quite well. CS not really a significant lead, but Vars approaching level 6 is a big deal for this bottom lane. A lot more damage with that ult, especially when it applies the Blight stacks. Level 6 is coming out. Fischio, with Jankos getting his ult shortly, I feel like this might be the point where we start to see more aggression, more active play from the side of G2.
They probably don't feel like they have to do too many things. Oh, bot lane, small little trade, but yeah, scaling comp versus scaling comp, guys, it becomes a farm fest. G2, after not closing out yesterday, did exactly what happened last time. They just said, all right, don't want to play early game, want to play late game now.
Oh, this is
Wonder
bad news
might
for
try and kill
Vizicachi. He might just be able to get the solo kill here. Luckily, Vizicachi has the passive. Gives him enough healing to stay in this one, but cannot really afford to go low in this laning phase.
Oh, Wonder didn't have ult. Never mind. It was on cooldown.
Feasted a minion. Needed the stack. Does kind of lower the kill pressure, but not really something you need in a tank v tank lane. And Officio, do you remember the last time these teams played? Do you remember what happened?
Yes.
It was the Caps Nuke Duck show, man. It was the LeBlanc versus the Zoe. This time, they're both playing late game scaling carries. It's a little bit different.
Right. Good for G2 as well. They've swapped in Perks instead of Caps for this matchup this time around.
Yeah, there you go. Nuke Duck, Perks, Caps.
Good mid laners. Same thing, almost. But yeah, Zoe LeBlanc. Was there one game where it felt like Schalke said, Nuke Duck, great mechanics, you're unleashed.
Be free, my son.
Go. Carry us. After that game, after they lost, they said, Nuke Duck, you
died to that one shot from Perks at bottom lane. Yep. Never again.
Never allowed to play any fun champions. He has Galio every game. And now Azir.
And then he died a lot on the Galio, and they know.
They're like, okay, no Galio for you either.
Back to Azir. Perks. Nuke Duck really hates this matchup. That's my new theory. Corki seems to be a struggle for him. A very good Corki player himself, though. And Perks with the package, just constantly threatening. Maybe could look for the all-in. Cleanse available for Nuke Duck. Perks just going to use the package to clear the wave.
Oh, around mid, Wander shows up. I don't know why I call him Wander instead of Vander. Wanter the Wanderer.
I think you should name every player in the EULCS.
You know, I used to call him Vander Life.
Oh, that's
he used
fair.
to play Thresh all the time.
I remember those days.
And he would hook everyone. A long time ago.
Do you remember
is
when
a veteran.
Vidid was a playmaker on Rocket?
I remember that.
The Zaya Rakan days. I'm kind of. It's surprising to me that this game we didn't see any kind of Zaya Rakan action.
It just feels like G2 knows they should play around solo laners and not the bot lane, and that's why they don't pick it. But could try at least, because it could definitely be a big thing for Jan and Vidid. But in this game still, we're kind of waiting for Pride to decide if he wants to gank a lane or not. It's been just a farm fest so far. He's now looking.
Don't pressure him. He's taking his time, Deficio.
Hey,
he's figuring it out. Where does he got to go?
Well, he got the warrior enchant, so his damage is pretty high. Let's see if he sneaks into mid.
Oh, do some good damage. Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. This man, passive for like 8 weeks, comes into a win or lose games and just says, yeah, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to bring it home.
See, I love this about Kha'Zix, the fact that you can get stealth from the mid lane brush, then pop your own ulti to remain stealth, and then you can actually just show up in front of them and they don't see you. And the warrior enchant, he just completed, made him kill someone.
Lockdown, he doesn't get the input buffer, he's dead. Whoa, junglers making stuff happen. Deficio, you want a scaling game. Junglers say no. They're here to kill people.
For now, 1 kill each. Still remain true that it's all about scaling and farming. Good play from Pride first. Can do it again. Perkz lost his flash from that play before, and you can just sneak in. The control ward in the mid lane brush. Passive from the R, then pop the R, and then you get the kill. Meanwhile, bot lane, I like the response here from G2. And 1-1. Good kill, a very important kill for a Rage Blade AD carry.
And this is the thing, Upset doesn't have a lot of defensive options from Vander. Yes, he can headbutt people away, but if one form of CC connects, the immediate follow-up is there. He has to pick what to input buffer, but when there's a VAR assault and a Sejuani ult, as long as G2 wait, they can hit him with something.
Looks like we're getting a lane swap from Schalke. G2 are matching it, just walk towards mid lane and then deciding, okay, let's go top. So every lane just swaps around, no one is going to get a big turret advantage because of it. I want to see Pride either go back mid or just go up top and try and kill Yana with these Alistar all in. You got Alistar ulti ready. Perkz uses TP as well, man.
Both supports going for the Moby Boots, making their way into lane. Vidid waiting. Pride is on the top side. It is an option for the team. Not going to take the option quite yet, however. And the good news right now for Schalke is that despite the fact that Tristana not going to be quite as strong on one item, significantly weaker in fact, Hjarnan isn't there yet. Only the pieces left for Guinsoo's. They don't have to worry about that, so at least they can sit somewhat comfortably in this lane, despite the fact that their lane swap was spotted out.
But because no one is like super dominating in the laning phase here, we don't get that big early advantage for either of the teams. It is just very even. You can't really start the Rift Held because you're not, again, pushing the enemy team constantly to the turrets around it. You need Pride then to show up first. And Jankos is trying to like match where Pride is, or at least gank if he sees something from the Kha'Zix. But he knows that he's not able to deal the same damage. And yeah, top lane fight. Sick damage.
Ooh, look at them hit each other. Cat pajamas versus Void Monster. Or tree and cat pajamas, rather.
All right, the control ward is now in this brush, which means Pride can go from top side and try and kill Perkz again if Perkz stays in lane. Or you can just control on this side here. And now the Perkz has gone back to base. Schalke could try play on the Varus, but it would require them, sadly, to tower dive him, and that is too risky for them.
Yeah, pressure mid and top, but a ward from G2 stops them from trying to take Rift Herald. Pride now gets to invade into the jungle. Pretty much perma-stealth here as he rotates through the bushes. Can try to take the red buff, but G2 know this is happening. Well, it looks like they're not going to contest it in the end. Going to back off, but Rageblade has come in, Deficio. We talked about item spikes being important. How big is this for Hjarnan?
I mean, it's super big if they actually do play to his side and utilize it. Otherwise, it doesn't really mean anything for him, because at the moment he shouldn't be allowed to sit and auto attack a lot with a Kha'Zix and an Alistar just jumping him. Perkz knows, got the package, but he's now used defensively. And if you're G2, topside is where you want to play. Play around Hjarnan, he's strong. This Tristana, item-wise, not very strong at the moment.
Just bits and pieces, Deficio, looking for the 2-item spike before it's even remotely a threat. We've seen Upset be good when he makes it to the late game, but often makes a lot of mistakes in the early to mid to sacrifice. Now we did Hjarnan. Really good spot to initiate for the team. G2 feeling confident as a whole as they push into the jungle. Lay down a bit of vision here.
It's a tense game. It's two teams who've tried to go late game before, and it's not always been successful for them, mainly due to some individual mistakes. You highlighted Upset before here. We've seen the same thing on the side of G2, over-chasing for some kills or fall too far behind because, yeah, they lost an early Baron. Things like these can happen in this game here. G2 need to keep up with Splice. Tie for that second place. Fnatic, they're gone. They're first place. Just that's fine. You need that second buy, so you're actually not on the same side of Fnatic in the bracket as well. So you have that road towards the final where you don't need to face Fnatic. That's another big thing for Vitality.
Yeah,
Splice
falling
or
to
G2
fourth is terrifying. Could set you up to play them depending on how the rest of the bracket plays out. Of course, reseeding into semifinals, really terrifying prospect for a lot of these teams, but it's just as important for Schalke. Officially on the opposite side, they need to work their way up. Once again, that mess of a tie is right above them. They find one win, suddenly they're in a good spot. But G2 taking control of the game as they manage to find the Rift Herald.
Well, it's what we talk about, right? Play around Varus with the Rage Blade. It's like he completes it, they go for it. TP coming in, we might get a first fight here.
Chachi could look to try to find the fight. Pride is into the middle of the pit. Vander does find the engagement. He takes so much damage in return. Tanks are trying to make their way into the backline. Kjarnan does a lot of damage, but he is going to get taken down. Wonder manages to grab one back in return. Chachi wants to keep the fight going. He is unconcerned. Interrupt onto Upset. Not going to find a way forward. Just going to be the 1-for-1 in the end.
Meanwhile, Pride tried to kill Jankos there. Stopped the Rift Herald. Almost went down in favor of G2, but is still alive. Jankos was forced out. Yeah, 1-for-1. Let's see, double TP used as well. Everyone just matching each other in this game.
And Division, both of these teams are so good at snowballing when they have a lead. Yes, the mid-game and late-game shot calling falls apart a little bit. I'll give you that. But when they find leads, when they find advantages like this Rift Herald, they look so good.
No one gets it, though. As the fight breaks out, Jankos is forced to run away. Chachi shows up, gets the kill, of course, onto Varus, but it is traded back against Vander. So no big advantage gained just off the fight itself, but G2 right back towards the Rift Herald. And this time, Schalke not in position to fight it. Chachi is bot lane. No one can actually contest it. And G2, important objective if they can get first turret off this one.
Maybe get a Cloud Drake. Is still solid. Pride leaps into the pit, looks to take it solo. Easy for the Kazakhs to do at this point in the game, but definitely not the equivalent trade. A lot will depend on what G2 can do with the Rift Herald, however, Deficio. Can they actually start to break down some towers, open up the macro game a little bit more?
Should be able to get at least one turret with it. Pride gets that Cloud Drake for himself. Top lane is where G2 are currently looking. Continue playing around the Varus with the one item spike. Well, both mid laners. Zoe LeBlanc last time. Insane action from the early game. Corki is here this time. Insane farming.
Oh, Deficio is going to be a tough hold on the top side. Varus is going to get the free stack up on the Rage Blade. Going to get a walk right up to that tower. Threaten Upset and Vander.
Oh, Chachi's running all the way from bot lane to top.
They're going to get the tower. But is the fight going to go against them? Vander, Moboot's not going to proc quite yet. Pride is there. Too little too late, though. Tower drops.
Man, that's such a bad call from Schalke.
Because now look at bottom side.
Yeah.
Wonder's just looking to grab a tower for himself.
The call is let's go top lane. There's no TP from Wonder. We can maybe stop the Rift Herald push. But by the time he's even at the mid lane with the Maokai, the Rift Herald has already charged and killed the turret. So now Chachi just lost the entire wave bot lane. And then he goes back and Wonder's like, oh, hey.
But you know what, Deficio? He made it back in time to save the turret. You know why? Cloud Drake.
Yes, that's it. So he saved the turret that was never really supposed to die, and they still lost top lane turret.
So it's a little grim, is what you're telling me.
It's a small thing. Like, it's not gonna be a big deal in terms of the game. He loses 1 or 2 waves on bot side, that's fine. He's Maokai. He's still pretty useful. Sorry. Almost said useless.
Deficio, you can't just hate on this champ every time it gets picked, man. It still has good engage. Now, the good news, Deficio, for Schalke is that yes, they're losing a bit in map pressure because that tower is gone, but the gold is still about dead even. Slight farm advantage in the mid lane for Nukeduck.
His package.
Good poke comes in. One item, still a nice spot for Nukeduck to be in, but Trinity Force for Perks also really strong.
And we're setting up for that late game fight where, let's talk about that after Wonder.
Challenging Smite goes down. They're going to slowly try to burn through him, but Pride has to be very careful. If you go in, if you get hit by that combo on the Cho'Gath, you die immediately. Jankos is here as well. Chachi now going to try to disengage. Pride is running. He is leaving his top laner to die. Perks coming in as well. Nothing left for that team. Wonder takes down Chachi.
We talked about the potential of Pride ganking the Cho'Gath, but that was about 15 minutes ago. Now this Cho'Gath is very big, very tanky, and Perks had package in the mid lane to just fly down as well and help his team. Play completely backfired for Schalke. Very tiny reward they could have gotten. Basically just a flash from Wonder. That's it. They're gonna lose this bot lane turret as well. Upset will trade top lane. That's another kill then for G2 Esports, and they're getting ahead in gold.
And the good news for Schalke is they have control of the top side. Baron is spawning shortly, but this is a bit grim. 2-0 for the Cho'Gath. We talked about Wunder. Potential to be incredibly disruptive in these late game fights. How this pick could suit him, as it does have some of that high damage, high playmaking potential in the late game.
Love me some Cho'Gath. Almost 100% win rate on patch 8.4 coming into today. I have to double check after today what the current win rate is for Cho'Gath on this patch. But yes, we get to see this setup where it's Nukdog upset, trying to carry against Jan and Perks on the 280 carries, but also against Wunder's Cho'Gath. And I think that's one of the crucial things that could swing it in G2's favor, is if he executes properly, knows exactly when to land silence, they make a quick call to kill a tank, he feasts, and they burst it down with double AD carry. It's so important in these late game fights to just kill the front line first. And that's what they can do.
Deficio, it's hard enough for Pride as we get later in the game to make an impact on this Kha'Zix. You talked about it yourself, but against a Cho'Gath, you leap in, you get silenced, you die. Yep. That is the play pattern.
And I don't feel like Pride has gotten far enough ahead in this early game. Like, yeah, sure, he's...
I mean, this man is the king of farming. Don't get me wrong, he's part of the reason that the gold is still so close for Schalke, but this is a champion that's supposed to kill people, Deficio.
Yeah, and there were a lot of openings early game where he could have jumped in and been a lot more aggressive. Slow game, a lot of farming. Get a pause as well.
Check on the CS scores. Schalke doing pretty well across the board, except for top lane where they're falling behind. 2 items on the way for upset. Interesting, he stopped at the Kerchi Shard before finishing the IE. Just wants more attack speed. Varus on 2 items is a terrifying prospect. Corki well on the way to the Infinity Edge.
I think G2, within the next few minutes, when they see the items on Tristana, if they want to play aggressive, can actually go towards Baron.
Absolutely.
And worst case, you turn against a very, very weak Tristana at the moment. And you just take the 5-on-5 team fight where you have 2 fully completed items on Yanan. Perks is building towards IH, but he's not there yet, so they're missing at least his 2-item power spike. But they have a pretty fast Baron with this comp. Double AD carry, one of them is Varus with the Rage Blade, and of course Cho'Gath Feast.
Yeah, it's the Blight stacks, the additional magic damage, the double proc, Corki with the MR and armor shred. I mean, Cho'Gath to secure it. You're right, Deficio. This is... It's not triple Mountain Drake from Fnatic last game,
no,
but
so there's risk involved, but if they want to try and actually force a fight with the AD carry advantage, that's one way they can do it. There's no Drake to take at the moment. It's not like they're able to just chain siege down a turret, because there is a lot of ways for Schalke to then like TP in behind them and start a fight, but this game is kind of gone the way T2 wanted it to go, because they have not fallen behind against the Kha'Zix.
And the question we asked at the start of this game was, what style are G2 going to play? This time they've opted for a bit more late game. A bit more late game options across their team. Now, can they execute when it comes to making the big decisions like taking Baron? That's my next question, because we've seen both Schalke, G2, even teams like Misfits really not be proactive enough, I guess, when you look at it, right? Not be the team that can just make that super decisive call onto Baron, get that, close out the game when it counts, when they have a lead or an advantage.
Yeah, quite a few teams prefer to play it super safe. And it's a best of 1 on stage. If you make a big mistake, you might lose the game for your entire team. So I can't really blame them for it. Sometimes, though, it is good to see a team saying, you know what? There's a good chance here. Let's take it. Let's go for it. Let's see if we can execute it properly. But then when it fails, we flame them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Rightfully so, Deficio.
If you don't do it, we're like, oh, please do it. And if you do it and you mess it up because it is a bit risky,
like, why would you do that?
Dad, you're so dumb. What is that? You know, so...
Hindsight, the ultimate tool of the analyst.
It is the best thing about casting. The classic hindsight.
And Deficio, I feel like we talk about the playoff pressure, right? This is big for Schalke, getting into playoffs. But for G2, I feel like it's even more because we talk about locking second place. We have to remember that a bye to the semifinal is not only seeing what your opponent is before you play, it's not only a guaranteed spot, but it's the equivalent of winning an entire best of 5 in quarters, right? You can save yourself an entire best of 5 if you just win a best of 1 here against Schalke, and if you keep winning as we move forward. We are now back in the game. Baron was the play you talked about before as we got into the pause, Deficio.
Just as a potential if they want to try and force a fight around it or just burn it down if Schalke is not ready to react. But around mid lane, we have Chachi roaming. Perks knows, steps away. There's too many wards in this game. They see everything. We should remove Sightstone as well.
Yeah.
We actually did already remove it. We should remove support items.
No one should be able to buy wards. Lower vision range, play like you're in Nocturne ult the entire game.
Might actually just make the game even more passive because then no one wants to do anything.
Oh, man. Tracker's Knife would have made the difference.
Maybe if you only had one lane in the game.
Ooh. Ooh, wait, what if people couldn't pick their champions, Deficio?
And they couldn't go back to base either, unless they died.
I like that.
That could be an interesting game mode.
You know what I think would be broken there? Soraka. Oh, it's a pause. Hey guys, we'll keep you updated. I know you're not excited to see the double pause, but it's important that players can be able to play. Nuke Duck's on your screen, so we're going to assume that he is the cause of the pause. Once again, we want to make sure that he's comfortable because he's playing Azir, man. He's important. He doesn't get to point and click. He has to manage soldiers. He has to carry late game fights.
And another positive about the pause is we get to show the players on the full screen. Normally it is hidden down the corner. We actually notice the champions more, but now we get to look at Nuke Duck and Pride.
And Nuke Duck has reported FPS drops. Not something anybody wants to play with, so we will work on resolving the issue, or league officials will, rather. Not related to the previous pause, I have been informed.
Oh.
So multiple issues for Nuke Duck. This is tough, man. Not only is it a hard game, the FPS is working against him. All odds stacked against him.
He's almost on 2 items, though. He's getting close.
This is like the Rocky Balboa of games. You know what I mean? He's rising up. We're going to play Gonna Fly now. He's going to come back. He's going to stand up at the interview. He's going to look into the eyes of pyro-medics ever doing it, and he's going to say, "You're the duck." Drop the mic, walk away. Crowd goes wild. Or he's going to lose horribly. We'll find out. We're back in game. G2 pushing in on the top side.
We already had 1 mic drop this week.
It's true.
Fun fact, apparently there was a pillow underneath.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to break a mic so Medic can make a statement. That feels fiscally irresponsible.
But like, could have been slightly more badass if it actually hit the ground and there wasn't a pillow down there.
I don't think the part of the mic drop that anyone remembers is the sound of the mic hitting the ground.
Call the Baron. Call the Baron. They're doing it. They're starting it. They're going to force around it. Enemy AD carry is weak. They have 2 items. They have a Cho'Gath. Turn and fight.
Maybe looking for the fight. Vander trying to find the engage on the side. Is going to knock up the Cho'Gath. Pride is in the middle of everything, but he gets knocked up immediately. Vizichachi has thrown out the cats. Upset is uncontested as he hits. Nuke Duck's hit on the side. This is exactly what they want. They have taken down 1 kill. The man advantage is in favor of G2, but what else can they get? Wonder could be in trouble. Can they find the reset on the kill? Upset grabs 1 back. No one has an advantage. Support traded for top lane. Maybe a slight edge to Schalke.
Oh, we have to see the replay there, how G2 started the fight, because Perkz actually jumped towards Nuke Duck and forced him out, and then the fight happened behind him. G2 did turn around and get that 1 kill, though. I respect the call, because I think with the advantage they had on Yanan, and the fact they could have feasted it down if Schalke were not ready to react, I respect it. Sadly for them, if this control ward had been there actually before they moved in, Schalke wouldn't have had this kind of vision, and maybe they could have burned it down in time, but obviously because they place it, Schalke knows it's starting. They see the fight, so they're actually all 5 together, all hitting with the but Nuke Duck from the side deals a ton of damage, and he alone forces 4 members of G2 to step away from Wonder. So the fact that Nuke Duck was forced out of the fight early gave him an entrance to flank.
All right, but here's my concern, Deficio. Why does the Kha'Zix only do 500 damage? That does not look like a good sign for Schalke as the game goes on.
I mean, he never got a chance to jump in. Nuke Duck already told him he got it from the side.
But what happens when they don't find the flank, Deficio?
Well, then they might struggle, but then your Tristana might have 3 items, and he can become the carry. They're now starting it, both teams, man.
Pride ready to go. Package going to be used. Perk sleeps into everything, gets slowed down. As he is isolated. Void Spikes doing a bit of work, but interesting. Schalke so aggressive to start the Baron. They don't have a Warmogs on their side, but Vizichachi wants to keep a fight going. The chain CC goes in. Pride still hesitating to go over the wall. Yanko's almost getting picked off. Upset, though, is not quite as scared. Maybe going to look for the kill on the Yankos as they fall backwards. Vizichachi is hungry for blood. He is tired of the passive games. He looks to make a play. Cannot find a kill, however.
Oh, that was so aggressive from Schalke. Just looking to force plays all the time, but G2, they're okay with this so far. Fight in terms of HP went in their favor, and now they get to at least push in mid and go and clear some wards around Baron.
Perkz is TPing in. They can just look to take the Baron. Pride trying to stay stealthed up. He may have the option to steal, but there's no TP from Vizichachi.
He's running back with home guards. He's on his way. 4 members still around from Schalke. Perkz taking some damage. Oh, Pride
he's in there. He wants to get Perkz. So much damage comes in from the Kha'Zix. Right back with the flash out. Flash trade for nothing, though. Perkz low on health. They need to get something from this.
Pride had to make a decision real quick. Do I flash to try and kill Perkz, or do I flash out to safety? He went out to safety, joined his team in the mid lane. Perkz back in base for now. Mid lane turret goes down, so Schalke in the end.
With a gold lead, Deficio.
It all started with start Baron, force fight, and then look for another fight right after. And while they didn't kill anyone, they forced the mid laner back to base. And now they can at least get a few control wards around Baron as well. There's a ton of them in here.
Clear out the vision. Pride waiting in the jungle, not going to connect on Perks.
But this is why we waited 20 minutes, because we knew both teams wants to get 2 items, they want to fight. They want to play team fights. It comes down to execution now. Perks might get caught again. No, Pride this time does not jump him.
I mean, you look at the way Pride is playing, officially, I feel like he's getting more and more confident as this game goes on.
That was pretty sick. He snuck in between all 5 players right there.
It's always crazy to watch.
Sadly for him, he didn't get the flash from Perks, and he had to flash out. So I guess Perks technically won
out
the
the trade. Well, the thing is Schalke off of that, right, get the mid lane tower, so that's the advantage they get. But now they have to spend the next 3.5 minutes with Pride not actually being able to have kill pressure.
But importantly, Schalke did not fall further behind when they had Static Shift, BF Sword on Tristana against 2 fully completed items on Varus. They actually managed to stall it by going 1-for-1 in the first fight around Baron and then making these plays we just saw here right after. So now Upset has been farming well. He finally got a kill in the game. 3 items ready, and suddenly his scaling starts to kick in.
3 item points so terrifying. Doesn't even the armor pen. Can just threaten Perks and Yarnan in these fights. Probably going to clear out the last little bit of vision that G2 have. Indeed, though, on the way. Not going to let it go down uncontested. Drops a word of the red wall to make sure he's safe before he pushes in, but respecting the potential for a stealth Kha'Zix as he backs off there.
Kha'Zix now that, again, there's so few defensive wards, are so good at sneaking around here.
Gonna try to make his way out. They spot him briefly. He's gonna get out.
Because normally, before this, you would have a lot of wards placed like outside the brushes as well, so you saw him enter the brush in the first place. You can ping, okay, he's in our jungle, watch out. But now it's fairly easy for him to find big holes on the map, so he can actually walk outside the brush, is not spotted, then into the brush, and of course then it kicks in with the invis, and he just kind of sneaks around, and you have no idea if he's in your jungle or not, if he's sitting in a side lane, brush in a lane, and he will jump you, and it becomes super difficult to play against.
And we've seen this exact situation for Rawcat, actually. Memento, the one sneaking through the jungle, finding the pick that would win them the game. Can Pride do the same? Now trying to sneak his way into mid lane.
You know, it's always about mid lane push when both teams want to play for Baron. If you push mid, you get entrance to the river, you get to kill the wards. Jankos lost his ulti.
Tried to ult Nuke Duck in the side lane. Missed it on camera, but important to note that the cooldown is gone.
Chachi's gonna get a free bot lane turret for himself, because Wonder pushed out and then walked up here to get mid lane control and then kill all the control wards. So Schalke gets a small advantage again from this.
And we're at the point where everyone is playing chess, Officio. It's not about the kills anymore, it's about the vision, it's about the pressure. G2 may have given up the bottom tower, but now they have control of pit, now they have the vision laid down. You can see Schalke very aware of that.
And this is the most classic Schalke game from this split. Super even against the top teams. Never feels like they are weaker or anything. But then when we come to that late game point, they've been farming towards, mistakes can happen. If the mistakes do not happen, they can win late game fights. They can win this game.
I want to go back to something you said in draft. You talked about Schalke having the easier to execute carries when it came to late game fighting. Do they actually have the edge here up against G2, you think, if the game goes late enough?
I think there's so much scaling on both sides that it just comes down to execution. Vander might have to sacrifice himself every fight when he jumps in, because Cho'Gath can feast and kill him through the ult.
Perks looking for the single play.
Way too aggressive.
Right there. Goodbye. The sole remaining member of the OG G2 lineup may have just given up everything, because Vizichachi is there. Upset is ready for the reset. He's going to free hit onto the remaining members. They're going to find the engage. Schalke, immediate turnaround, the double. Bring it home. One more for Nuke Duck, the Baron in the sights of Schalke. We wanted action. They delivered.
But what just happened? The captain on G2 Esports, desperate to make a play, dives headfirst into Schalke and just dies instantly. Okay, you got the package, cool, you can try and do something. He sees Nuke Duck, but the rest of Schalke are right next to him. After the package, he jumps into his face. That was like the dumbest play I've seen all split.
Guys, I wish I could say it's a joke, but Perks may have cost his team a game there. May have cost second place. That has to hurt for the player.
Okay, clearly, he either thought that the rest of Schalke were not nearby, even though he just saw them walk towards him, or he thought his entire team would follow him when he jumped onto Nuke Duck.
This is the nightmare point. We talked about bars, we talked about Corki. Guess what they do a lot of? Magic damage. Guess what the minion does not care about? Perks can barely touch this one. Cho'Gath there with some true damage. Maybe can hope to take it away with the feast. A smite from Jankos as well. Schalke not going to try to protect it. They know the minion dematerializes is there. That is the only thing stopping that minion from sieging.
And that is not the kind of mistake we see from Perkz very often. It must have been a good reason for it that we just didn't know. Maybe the communication was just off for the moment here, or for that play. And G2, they lose Baron, they lose the fight. Schalke didn't even have to set up a Baron play on their own. They just legit just killed the carry who jumped in their face.
Sometimes when enemy teams throw, all you have to do is catch Deficio.
That is very true, and this is so huge for the Schalke team. They almost gave up on making playoffs, but if this is a 2-0 week we're looking at if they can close out this game.
Once again, they make it into the midst of the teams. All the teams tied for 5th place right now if they find the win. They're well on the way. Pride.
Still, G2 can still come back. This is not the end of the world just yet for them. They still have good late game on their side, especially if Yanin can actually auto-attack with this on-hit Varus build. They gotta get through Vander's ulti. When that is gone, they can kill the support easily. If they get enough time, they can kill the Maokai as well. And because, again, this battle of killing tanks, they have the feast from Cho'Gath. That's big for them. But they need Schalke to run at them, so the 2 carries get enough time to just land enough autos. Not, of course, dive head first into the enemy team with your carry.
Just so many big risks. Or that single big risk, rather, taken for Perkz. Have to wonder if it had gone the way he planned, if it would have been the edge for G2.
Again, there must have been a reason for it.
I mean, you got to give them the credit, but you talk about communication breakdown. Looks like Schalke may have had one as they start to split up. Deficio, the fight is going down. Vizicachi now trying to run for his life. If he gets picked off here, this will be a big change in the favor of G2. The immediate feast down. G2 not going to give up any more on this Baron. They buy themselves about 30, maybe 50 seconds as Vizicachi drops.
And that's why we just said this game is definitely not over. We're going to get more of these kind of fights. Perkz can redeem himself and still become the big carry for his team. Schalke, they were completely split up. Chachi caught out alone. That is 1 kill for G2. And gold-wise, yeah, you're 4K down, but we're starting to get further and further into the game, so it won't mean that much. In terms of carry gold and carry items, they are fairly even still.
Of course, Upset looks like he will be going for the Mercurial Scimitar, a little bit of extra safety on top of the 3 items. Nothing to shred the tanks, but does have a decent amount of magic damage with the Energizer build. Double Warmogs on the side of G2. The next Baron that spawns, they're going to be able to pressure just about indefinitely.
And I went back to look at that play from Perkz with the G2 vision on. By the time he clicked that Valk to jump towards Nukeduck, he only saw Vander and Nukeduck right around him. Pride was stealth, so he didn't see him, and he knew Upset was a little bit further away. That's why Perkz felt like there was a chance here to jump Nukeduck in a potential 4v2, 5v2 situation. The team could maybe follow him, and he could then have killed their Azir, taken Baron. So he didn't just see the enemy team around him and said, yeah, I don't care, I'm gonna die here. No, he actually, due to the stealth from the Kazakhs, and because Upset was a little bit further away from the fight, he thought there was a chance to kill the Azir. Sadly for him, Kazakh showed up, and Nukeduck and the rest of G2 were kind of like, what happened there? And Nukeduck just killed him.
And Division, we talk so much about X Factor this season, right? Whether it's innovation in the draft, unique strategies, or individual playmaking. Well, G2 definitely not short of it. They have Jankos, they have Perkz, these guys known for making big plays, but this is what happens when it goes wrong. Sometimes that big play is, you are playing on the edge, you are taking a big risk.
And you feel like you need to be the carry here. You feel like you can be the one who gets that big advantage for your team. Perkz has done it multiple times this split. He did it last time he played against Schalke on the Zoe. And then he goes for a play like that one, and it backfires big time.
Yarn gonna have to burn the ult to disengage as Vizicachi may have found the pick onto Jankos. Both teams quite vocal on stage. Clearly aware of the tenseness of this game. Vizicachi has the ultimate available. Pretty easy for Perkz to make his way out, though. Dashes on just about everybody. Indeed, with the freedom to dash to an ally means it's really needs to be the flank if he wants to find it. But Schalke pushing forward with confidence. Set up the tower. Using the Sun Disc. Ooh, and Pride in the middle of the jungle. We'll see that Jankos is isolated. It's just going to immediately leap on, leap out.
You're not here to assassinate the Sejuani. Sadly for Pride, he was hoping that a squishy guy would walk from bot lane or from mid to top lane. Did not happen though. He's got the Black Cleaver for himself. A lot of damage, and rest of G2 grouped together. Looking for revenge after losing that Baron.
Shopping. Oh, gets stunned but makes it over the wall. That's going to be crucial. Sun Disc goes down. Meanwhile, Vizicachi pushes in on the bottom side. Baron in 1 minute and 14 seconds. That will be the arena. That will be what the teams play for.
Ton of damage on the side of Yanin if he gets time. 3 items only on Perkz. He's not been able to get ahead in this game. He's behind in farm against this Azir, who's already completed 4.5 on the side of Nuke. So it is a tough game for Perkz to try and carry, and it's gonna shift more over to Yanen. This could be a big game for him to step up and secure a win for G2 against Schalke here. Tie with Splice for that second place.
And Deficio, it's tough because both teams are going to be so reliant on execution. Hjarnan needs that Rage Blade stacked when they fight. If he doesn't have the time to stack it up, if he's forced out of the fight too soon, his DPS drops monumentally. I mean, all those on-hit effects so reliant on that passive to really synergize combined with the Blight. Opposite side, Upset much easier for him in these fights. He has safety, he has a leap, he has a disengage. Tristana is an independent fighter in the late game.
Definitely true. And so far, Nuke and Upset played well. Not made any mistakes in the late game. And that is key. Pride is once again sneaking in that jungle. He's looking for Perkz. Or maybe Yanen if Yanen walks in near him. Sneaky.
Leaps in, wants to get onto Hjarnan. They're going to go through as the team. Hjarnan has split himself off from the rest of the lineup. The rest of G2 now leaping in to save. Perkz wants to break it off. Vander's still so tanky, courtesy of the ultimate. Nuke not going to get knocked up on the backside, but it's one pick off for G2. A lot of low health bars. Is this the moment? Nuke fires back. Vizichachi's on the way in. Void Spikes don't connect. It is just going to be a 1-for-1 once again. Both supports taken off the board.
But Yanen back in base. Baron is alive. They killed Wardid already. They're actually baiting around it, trying to see if they can kill Wonder.
Gonna be a slow burn down. Leandri's getting the max health. Could be enough. Giant Slayer passive. Pride poking down onto Perkz. Schalke just letting G2 know that they control the jungle, but Jankos and Wonder unafraid. They have the Warmogs. They want to keep this territory their own.
Another 1-for-1. Close fights. I like Pride there. Whenever the team is sitting mid, he knows that on the Kha'Zix, you can't just teamfight the traditional way. You always gotta find these different flanks. And he's always looking for either Yanen or Perkz. Managed to start the fight then, the rest of the team followed up, but then sadly ended up still losing a member. Perkz.
And let's look at the cost of Fischio. Flash from Perkz, flash heal from Hjarnan. Pride again. Is here. Not going to follow up, doesn't want to take the risk. He's going to leap on the Perkz. Jankos is there, we need to go back. Pride now running for his life. If Jungler goes down, it could be big. Oh, manages to make it out.
Yeah, he did not expect Jankos to be in that brush. So little vision on the map here in the late game. A lot of gambles being taken for Pride when he goes all in, especially with someone who's hiding in their own jungle. There's always a chance there's backup right next to them. And suddenly, the Kha'Zix will not be able to assassinate anyone when it's a 1v2 situation. Perkz got his 4th item now. Still alive, level 18 as well on the Corkian.
Oh, Deficio. 10th spot to be. You can see how much damage Pride can do if he's left alone. G2 need to stay, group need to stay together.
And these tense games, if it's the start of the split, it's like, it's important to win it, but there's not that much at stake just yet. But when you're played in week 8 or day 2, just a few games left per team in this split, suddenly, it just means everything for you.
And look, if you're G2 and you lose, you're not hoping. You're praying that Splice find a loss. Vander, though, in trouble. He's going to use the ultimate. Cho'Gath's just going to nom him up. That is the pick G2 wanted. Vizichachi trying to bring it back, though. Can they take out Wardid in the exchange? It's just the support for the support trade. Vizichachi's still alive. Gargoyle's doing play, keeping him healthy. True damage not going to come in. Pride from the side. He wants to find the flank. What's he going to get? He leaps into Perkz, but they just cut right through him. Not enough, because Upset finds the kill. He wants to leap and he wants to keep the play going. Wonder, is he going to die? If he does, they're going to get the reset. No. Healing up enough from the regen. Jankos flashes out, but a masterful fight from Schalke.
2-for-1 here. We talked earlier about how Vander probably just needs to sacrifice himself in every single fight because Cho'Gath can use Feast on him, but that's a big cooldown gone then. Pride was sitting next to Vander and just shooting. No one touched him. Dealt a ton of damage onto G2, and second Baron now for Schalke. Elder Drake spawn, and G2 is starting it instantly. Upset is the only one here trying to get the Rift Scuttler.
It's going to be big. We'll give the passive vision down. Denies Jankos their counterplay. They burned the TP for it. Upset just going to pick it up.
G2 got to back away.
Oh, G2, this is brutal.
A lot of things have gone wrong for them here in the late game, and this is another one. Lost fight in mid lane that they initiated to then lose Baron, 2 members, and Elder Drake. Everything is in Schalke's favor. This playoff run that they can pull off, it could be insane after losing so many games in a row. If they can actually bounce back, beat teams like G2 Esports, and start going on a bit of a win streak. This is the fight from before. Upset is left on his own to just shoot. And of course, if an AD carry is left to just sit and hammer away, he's eventually gonna kill people.
Oh, the damage onto Perkz. Tristana is terrifying, man. And Upset, good movement. Only really needed to dodge the Braum ult. And Deficio, This is just an immense performance coming from Schalke. The fact that they had the confidence to turn that fight around despite Vander getting caught out. They knew they had to force a fight at that moment. Tower getting sieged down, Elder Dragon as well. This would be a monumental hold for G2. Can they do it? Can they keep the second place dream alive? Schalke, will they earn their spot in playoffs?
And so far, this is the most important game both teams have played all split. One team trying to hold on to bye weeks, another team trying to make it into playoff after basically thinking they were done, they were out. Not the case. Winning here, they tie for 5th place with 4 other teams in the EULCS. And then next week, they can decide on their own if they want to make playoffs or not.
Slow, steady siege. G2 see they have no options. They give up the first inhibitor of the game. Schalke now moving into the mid lane, ready to go. Ping is coming down on the wave. G2 looking for a way to cut it before the Baron buff gets there. They're not going to find the chance.
Full items on most of the carries. Void Staff coming in for perks next, but it's not here for the next team fight. And Schalke getting more objectives.
Second inhibitor to Officio. Tension just continues to build. Looking for that opening, looking for that opportunity to close out. Schalke know the ball is in their court. G2 hoping, praying that Schalke will throw it back to them, give them a chance for some counterplay, give them a fight that they can win, but Schalke have not shown the opportunity.
There's enough wave clear on the side of G2 to just stall against the super minions. They get at least one more big fight. It's been rough for them because they spend most of the time killing Vander. And then when he dies, the 2 carries on Schalke have already killed 1 important member on the side of G2.
And I feel like when you're Wonder, you see Alistair, you see the damage reduction, you go, true damage is great here. But then you don't have it. You don't have any threat onto Upset. He's not scared of you. Nukeduck is not scared of you anymore. You stop being a threat onto that backline, and suddenly Vizicachi just looks like the better tank in a lot of these fights because he's the one who keeps forcing the engages. He's the one who keeps making these fights turn in the favor of Schalke, even when they start on a bad foot.
But we also talked again about how it's easier for Schalke to execute with their carries, because this Varus, it's so hard to move around these fights properly, knowing that anything that jumps him forces him to stop auto-attacking.
Last time we saw these two play, it was Hjarnan on the Varus as well. Him and Upset both had very poor performances across the game. It was the mid laners who brought it back. So the question is this Hjarnan's chance for redemption, or can Perkz once again find a clutch play to bring G2 back in their favor? He has the Void Staff now. He is full items. He is not going to do more damage than this.
Sieging on top side, waiting for super minions, bot and mid lane. Not here yet for Schalke, so all of G2 can defend the 1 lane.
Ooh, Officio just...
I love it, man.
It's so tense. I just have to...
This is the kind of game you want, where there's so much at stake. None of these teams are locked for anything, and that's a good thing when we get this late in the season. Sometimes we have these splits.
Yeah, we're locked like week 6.
Exactly, and then they don't play for a whole lot.
Oh,
Cats come in the zone.
This very well could be the final fight. Upset just going to hit onto the tower. They focus. They look for the disengage. Vizicachi has been locked up. People can cut through a lot of damage. The engage comes in from Vander. Upset has been locked up, but he leaps right back out. Nukeduck throws up the wall. He says, "You're not getting to my AD carry that easy." Now pulling back. Vander is in trouble. He will get stunned. Will fall away, but they're going to break the tower anyway. It is the 2-for-0. G2 get the fight, but Schalke get the tower.
Oh, Perkz trying to stop them from getting in here while the rest of the team are killing super minions. It's a 3v5 at the moment.
Have to be careful. Perkz is going forward. Wants a bit more. Static shift proc, very big for the team, but they can't find the engage opportunity. Wonder with a TP almost up and available.
Elder Drake, not alive. Baron, not alive. So while G2 got 2 kills, nothing on the map they can actually kill. So they will end up just having to stall a little bit longer. Getting to the point where selling them boots might be a thing for the carries. Get even more damage. We've already seen it on Upset. He knows that no one is actually hitting him, so he doesn't need boots.
Got the Phantom Dancer. He wants to be faster, Officio.
See the fight from before here. Chachi and Schalke, they know that they need to get the turret first of all, and that actually buys a bit of time for G2 to get enough damage down on Vizicachi specifically. And this time, it's not the Alistar they focus, it is the Maokai. He dies. And of course, because Schalke is split between hitting turret and then hitting champions, they can't win the fight, and G2, they managed to secure a small win for themselves. Baron up in about a minute's time.
And you can see Hjarnan's still a threat when it comes to dishing out damage, to being a threat in the late game despite not going for the crit build. 5k damage in the fight. If he is allowed to free hit, he shreds through the tank line of Schalke. Interesting, has opted for the reduced healing, wants to shut down the Maokai in these fights, wants to shut down Upset. Lord Dominic's on the opposite side. Upset knows his job. If he gets a free hit the tank line, he needs them to die, and he needs them to die quickly.
And for Schalke next week, we already talked about the Fnatic game. The other opponent is H2K. They're down the bottom of the standings. Definitely a team Schalke can beat. So
and those are the games that matter the most to Fisio, because not only are you putting yourself one up, you're putting the competition one down. It's basically 2 wins when it comes to contesting the playoffs.
What happens here,
Schalke.
Vander? That's an early ult. So now Vander for next fight. He's not going to have it if anything happens instantly. But again, the reason I highlight the H2K game and the Fnatic game is because if Schalke get this win here against G2, even if they lose to Fnatic, which is very realistic, as long as they didn't beat H2K, they will sit on 8 wins, which should be enough to at least give them a tiebreaker for that playoff spot. So suddenly this schedule where you had G2 and Fnatic in the remaining 4 games doesn't look that bad, because right now you are ahead against G2. You've been doing a lot of good things, but they still got to be able to close the game, and that's been the problem for Schalke all split long.
Right off to the side. Not going to find the Rupture. One Rupture connects on Upset. It could be the game right there. Perk's still trying to poke down. Not quite as effective as it once was early in the game. And Pride continues to try to find these flanks. Looks to take down Perks. Perk's not nearly as scared as he was before. He gets the range to auto-attack freely. He will kill Pride quite quickly. G2 pulling back, though. You can see Schalke know that they're the stronger team as they force them back. They get the mid lane pressure, they set up the Sun Disc, and now they're going to look to control the jungle. This is where Pride is in his element. He stealths up, he finds another flank. Could very well be the win. They're going to immediately try to burn through it. Blue Trinket has spotted them out. They have the Azir, they have the Tristana. Vander maybe the Sacrificial Lamb. The ult is up in time. Jankos, where's he going to go? They're backing off. Schalke instead are going to look for the fight. They may just lose Vander here. Could that be the throw? Upset is not hitting. Nuke Duck, the team is split. Decision-making was not together on that one. G2 find a small advantage.
Yeah, I don't think Vander had time to actually move with the team because they all jumped over the wall. No flash on his side, so he couldn't get away. And G2, that's now suddenly 5 members alive on their side against only 4 on Schalke. Now all the inhibs have respawned. There's a big wave bot lane that will kill an inhib if all of G2 stay around the Baron.
And Schalke know it. They're sticking around with 4 members. They know G2 can't afford to commit all 5. They're not scared.
Perks is actually recalling instead of just walking over and killing the wave and then going back to base after. Starting the Baron to try and force G2 to stay around while the minions will do all the work. Perks now realizes and kills the minions.
Jankos with no ultimate yet, so we can't threaten Nuke Duck there. Upset still continuing to hit, slowly chipping away at the Baron. Second Elder is up and alive.
And package is here. Perks is on his way with the package here. If a fight breaks out.
Nuke Duck poking. It's going to get hit. The Chain CC comes in, but he has the cleanse. Pulls back. A brief opportunity. Vizichachi wants to go and wants to keep the fight going, but Hjarnan is not the one that they've hit. In goes Perks. He's looking for a time. He's looking for a chance. Wonder is going to get taken down. That's the shutdown. Vizichachi free hitting into the middle of the team. Nuke Duck now in the middle of everything. Jankos could be next. Upset. Not going to find the reset on the jump. They have to pull back.
I was hoping.
If Vizichachi's going to live. And the Baron now set in the sights. Jankos can steal, but he has no flash. He has no health. He has the Warmogs to heal up, but it's just a matter of time.
And it's almost too risky for him to try, because if he dies, then suddenly the base
G2 are doing the same trade again. They're trying to get Elder.
I don't think they can kill in time, can they?
Upset's on the way. They can't give second Elder up to
Perks is
Schalke.
not there. Perks went up towards the Baron instead of being with the team to provide more damage.
If Pride steals this, Schalke win the game. Absolutely,
they can
his
just
buff
fight
is too
him.
strong. They don't even see him. He's going to throw it out. He wants to go over the wall. It's low. Jankos does secure it. That is a hope. That is a chance. But Vander goes in. The team is split. Hjarnan is immediately going to get cut through. Goodbye to you, sir. Not enough time left for G2.
But G2 right there, they're split up again. Perks went towards the Baron while the other 3 members went to Elder Drake. So it took them forever to kill it. And all of Schalke just walked down and took them down. They're going straight for the base.
This is exactly what they wanted. They're pushing in. They can end right here. Perks is almost out of mana. Would even have to block all of the auto attacks in the world. Wonder, the last stand comes in. Schalke are looking for the victory lap here. Sights set on playoffs. Will this be their win? Will they deny G2 their bye? Will they deny them their way into the semifinals? It is time to see. Wonder is getting taken down. They are cutting through him. Upset is uncontested. They have the Baron minion. Deficio. Schalke keep the playoff dream alive.
2-0 week for Schalke. They take down G2 Esports. They now enter week 9 tied for 5th place.
Both of these teams, at the end of the day, they're still very bottom-focused teams. The #1 gold share from Uzi and the second highest gold share from Uzi. They do need their big AD carries to step up, but not necessarily in the laning phase.
And we'll get to see if these two teams still draft towards being a bottom-focused side of the map as we head into Champion Select for game #1. First two bans coming out from RNG are going to be Camille as well as Rakan, targeted towards Haro Ray as well as Mako, the side of EDG. They're taking away Galio and Sion, two of the biggest tanks at the moment.
We do have to talk about the big picks that both of these teams share, and those are the Caitlyn and also the Ryze in the mid lane. The Caitlyn we've seen EDG utilize a lot, and she's actually been buffed because of the sieging potential with the Banner of Command. And also the Ryze, it's the most played champion for both of these mid laners. There's going to be a lot of priority on that pick.
It's not just a pick that EDG tried to work with for iBoy, but Uzi is very well known for his Caitlyn, not only in the recent meta and the spring split of 2018, but historically he's been well known for picking up Caitlyn. Cassiopeia is the final ban that comes out from RNG, so either Ryze or Azir will be left open after the end of this draft phase. Final ban from EDG is going to be Tahm Kench.
And that Cassiopeia pick, I have to say, is a very strong signal that they will first pick up something like the Ryze, because Cassio is one of the hardest counters here. That's a very interesting thing that they go for this Sejuani instead. I thought RNG would try to leverage more of their potential with Karsa over Haro. Instead, they go with a much more passive jungler.
Oh, EDG ban out both Galio as well as Sion, so the two main tanks from the lanes are gone. Might as well pick the one that's remaining in the jungle. We'll have to see what EDG decides to pair up for Haro to go up against Karsa in the jungle. They get their two first picks here, both teams taking their time, really thinking about what they're going to be picking up into one another. Azir is the lock-in for Scout in the mid lane.
Definitely a very favored pick on this patch, but not a pick I really like Scout on. He's the one that really wants to make plays. He sees himself as an assassin, and a lot of his Azir teamfights have been less than satisfactory. But the Olaf pick is something we do expect from Haro. Now, Haro we typically associate as a weaker jungler. He's not that confrontational, but with an Olaf, you can face check into the enemy team.
On top of that, Olaf has been incredibly strong on patch 8.4. We see a lot of people picking up the Predator Keystone Rune and running around in the jungle with the champion. Going up against a Sejuani does have a lot of dueling pressure, as well as capabilities to negate all the crowd control that Sejuani will be able to dish out onto Haro's Olaf. Whereas RNG, they lock in both Tristana as well as Ryze as their last two picks in the first draft phase.
I think the Ryze makes a lot of sense. It really gives the reason to ban Cassiopeia out, but the Tristana is rather an interesting pick because she's not that good in lane, and the enemy team is going to have Varus and Olaf coming into the bot lane. So that's a lot of pressure being applied there from Uzi.
You're going to have to see what the final pick in this draft phase is going to be. Kog'Maw gets locked in for iBoy in the bottom lane. This is patch 8.4, so we skipped through the heavy nerfs that were on Kog'Maw in 8.3. Did get a little bit more damage back on his W, but still not as strong as what we've seen before. Yeah,
Kog'Maw's still a pick that's very strong, 6% on that HP damage now on 8.4. But this is kind of an interesting pick again. EDG are basically saying that we can play for the even later game, and that has traditionally been where they were stronger over RNG, their macro game.
So still looking like they're very bottom lane focused. Two hyper carries picked up by both teams. Heading into the second ban phase, targeting Let Me in the top lane at the moment as Jace gets banned out against RNG. Braum hits the bench for EDG.
That's a very interesting ban because we haven't seen Let Me on the Jace this season at all. However, he has had a very large turnaround. He's been going into those counter picks, picking up things like Trundle, like Rumble. It's really a different Let Me that we know. It's not the Let Me that's only going to go on tanks like he did at the start of the season.
Seems like EDG have read that as well, as Kled is their final ban against Let Me in the top lane. Two champions you usually associate RNG's top laner with.
Yeah, very aggressive top lane picks, and this does open up some leeway for the Cho'Gath pick. Now, the Jace and the Kled are both very hard counters into the Cho'Gath, so I would assume that would be what they are trying to go for, and it's also something that Ray's very comfortable on.
EDG are well known for their flex picks, so one of the strongest flex picks gets banned out against them. Ornn is taken off the table against both Mako as well as Ray. Now they get first pick during the second rotation, and the final pick to counter out whatever they'd like. Seems like they're saving that for Ray in the top lane as they lock in Alistar as the support for Mako in the bottom lane.
I like the Alistar take away from Ming. That's the best champion that he has right now. And also the person with the smallest champion pool on RNG. They are really targeting him out. So he only has Taric pretty much left as a defensive laner here.
Now EDG have to show their hand. What is Ming going to be picking up as the support for Uzi in the bottom lane? And what is Let Me going to be using on the top side of that? Shen's a pick that we normally associate EDG with for both Ray as well as Mako, but it's RNG that pick it up today. Still could be either top lane or support.
It's a good preemptive pick into the chokeout, I would assume. It does give you more lane priority in that matchup, and you can also roam around with it with the priority you get from Ryze around level 6 or level 7. So we do see RNG having a lot of initiation and proactive plays in the middle of the game.
Being able to dodge auto attacks comes out strong, especially when you look at the fact that it's a Kog'Maw, Olaf, Alistar, as well as Azir from the side of EDG. That's going to be a support Shen in the bottom lane for Ming, as Na gets picked up in the top lane for Let Me, and it should be that choke up, as you mentioned, for Ray. Let's see what they lock in.
Maokai still's kind of the same deal. We've been seeing him pop up a lot more. That top lane has been more passive. And without Tracker's Knife, those saplings do really help out with the team's vision. So it is a new crop up in patch 8.4.
Final pick for EDG heading into the top lane is going to be that Maokai for Ray. So he decides not to go for the Cho'Gath. Maokai historically has had a decent lane against Na, is able to sustain through a lot of the poke that he can dish out.
Definitely. We see a very traditional teamfight heavy composition coming out from EDG. They have your double late game super carries in the Azir and the Kog'Maw, and a very good tank line in Maokai and Alistar as well. As for RNG, I feel like they're trying to up the tempo. They want to be the one that's on the aggressive, on the offensive all the time. They have a lot of lane priority in their champions, and it's really about how they can move their pieces, come around 15 minutes.
Got decent scaling as well, RNG, with the Tristana picked up as well as a Ryze. A decent front line to back up the two carries on the side of RNG. EDG are really going towards the late game if they can.
Yeah, that's what they're looking for, and that's the stylistic difference between these two teams. If we look at the amount of kills at 15 minutes, RNG is second in the league, while EDG is actually second to last. So they like to play a more slow and controlled style, and that's what they're going for today.
Oh, no. You care to elaborate what these mean, Clement?
So Shahu is saying today's strategy, and Uzi looks very angry, and today's strategy is we're going to sell the dog. So they're going to use Tristana as bait. That's basically what the crowd is saying right now.
Well, let's see if RNG do use Uzi as that bait. Since he's come back into the LPL after Chinese New Year, he's looked incredibly strong. RNG still put on their few other 80 carries from time to time. We know that their bench has a ton of 80 carries who are incredibly strong. But Uzi is still one of the best.
He's definitely the king there. They have 480 carries in total, but they haven't played after Chinese New Year. Uzi is the new face of RNG. He's the focus of the team, and he's why they've been winning so hard. But I do want him to dial it back a little bit in this matchup. He doesn't necessarily need to win the bot.
Well, he's going up against iBoy, who is touted as the one that EDG need to protect. The prodigy from the side of EDG up against the uncrowned king of Uzi. RNG taking on EDG. We're getting on to Summoner's Rift for game one of this best 3 series.
The Crowdless King has definitely got the crowd hyped. You can hear them screaming right now. RNG and EDG fans, 500 strong, up in the Shanghai Arena.
And it wouldn't be better if they didn't start with some bloodshed. Uzi as well as Ming looking to try and get some damage on towards iBoy and Mako. No summoner spells being burnt by either team, but already an aggressive start.
We're going to see this quite often against Olafs. They want to check out where they start on their first rotation, because Olafs usually go very, very low on their first clear. You can punish that as the enemy jungle.
On top of that, we see quite a few teams trying to go for fake leashes whenever they have an Olaf on their squad, because he can clear out those first camps quite quickly. The lower Olaf gets in his hit points, the faster he actually clears the rest of his jungle.
And then we see Firefox, the general manager of RNG now, the previous coach coming over, and also Aaron, and they're sitting together. So not a lot of animosity between these two teams.
A lot of history between both RNG as well as EDG. I believe since 2016, they're 16-16 tied up in terms of games taken against one another.
Overall, EDG do have the lead in terms of historical score. 23-19 is the score since LPL started. But we're in a brand new season, and RNG have been doing much stronger this split, I have to say.
Instead of getting any fake leashes, we see iBoy as well as Mako head into the bottom lane nice and early to get the first push against Uzi as well as Ming, making sure they take it slow so they're stuck in the middle of the lane as well. And there is that head-to-head between RNG as well as EDG since 2017. Bottom lane though, already lots of fighting between the two 80 carries and supports. Ming as well as Uzi take a ton of damage. iBoy and Mako trade back effectively.
may miss his taunt right there. In terms of the AD matchups, Kog'Maw does have priority in the lane over the Tristana, but what Ming is trying to do is basically use an early cheese with that level 1.
Mako is able to interrupt the rocket jump coming out from Uzi. He took that at level 1 to be a little bit safer in this matchup instead of his E. EDG are able to successfully get some more trade damage and push them underneath their turret. Meanwhile, checking in with the junglers, Karsa spotted out that red buff was not started by Olaf. However, a zombie ward spots him out as he jumps over the Rift Herald wall. Haro knows that Sejuani is inside of his own jungle. Let's see what he decides to do.
It's very interesting because RNG realized that EDG actually did a very light leash for their jungler. Unlike them, RNG actually did a much stronger leash.
Xiaohu also uses minion dematerializer to push in Scout, so Scout can't rotate to help out Haro. Karsa finds him and gets a lot of damage onto this Olaf. That should force him back to base.
Ooh, and Olaf is a very early game dependent jungler. If things do not go well for him, he doesn't have a late game to back him up. So this is tremendously bad news for EDG.
Even calling upon Let Me to help out. RNG have 2 pushing lanes at the top side of the map. Haro sticks around, looks to try and take his Krug camp for himself. Takasa cannot continue pushing in. There's his stats at the moment, but it's where we're going to be focusing a lot on this bottom lane because they just want to kill each other at the moment. Mako even gets that final stun, allows Ivo to get one last auto attack onto Shen.
You could say that EDG went for a very greedy early game, not leashing for their jungler and having him punished in the top side of the map. But this is the reason they did it. They want that level advantage in the bot lane so they can have a better matchup from Ivoy. This is not the Hope EDG. This is the Ivoy EDG.
RNG have to be a little bit EDG have to be a little bit careful because there are no wards on the bottom side of this map. And both Xiaohu as well as Castle are rotating down towards the bottom side. Iboy and Mako are pushed up quite aggressively. Scout and Xiaohu meet in the river. And immediately Scout decides to back away. Ignite being used onto Iboy here as Ming jumps in nice and aggressive. That's a flash on Iboy. This could be first blood. And it's picked up by Karsa. Now Mako, who's out of mana, only has his flash. Used it, but Karsa goes forward. This jungler is everywhere on this map. And Mako will fall. Double kill picked up by Karsa.
Can Haro trade anything back? I don't think he's going to risk it though.
He's looking to try and see what he can do. Uzi gets really low. He needs that axe. They taunt him. They're going to take it down. Smite comes through. Picks up the return kill. But will it be another one? A double! What the heck, Haro? He picks up 2, but RNG take him down.
Haro with the hero play right there, and all of the kills going over to, none of the kills going over to Uzi. So a fair trade back there coming from EDG. But I have to say, this is why playing aggressive in the bot lane is such a dangerous strategy. We've seen this over and over again. You don't have the warding to have continued aggression in this meta. And that's basically what happened here. RNG able to punish the aggressive laning from Iboy.
On top of that, look at how the lane in the bottom side of the map is currently shifted. There's a massive wave pushing back towards Uzi. He should be able to collect that. That's all from this gank that came into the bottom lane.
Yeah, Iboy really pushing his luck right there. They know that Karsa is free to roam around the map, but they still didn't back out. They spotted Karsa way too late and hand over the double kill. Luckily for them, however, Haru was able to land a miracle axe onto Uzi and follow it up with the smite.
No more tracker smite, means that he can do just this. Walks up, gets the smite down, and then somehow takes down Karsa as well. You don't want to fight Olaf when he's that low, and he picks up a kill for himself. When you look back at how this has affected that bottom lane matchup, Uzi's been able to get a slight CS lead for himself, picking up the wave that crashed underneath his turret. Haro, though, is still waiting in the wings, trying to see if he can get access to the bottom lane again.
Uzi should not play aggressive in this lane. Even though their wave is pushing in, they should understand that.
Well, Ming jumps in first. Haro is still waiting for this one. Mako gets a double knockup. Uzi goes very low, and he's picked up by Iboy. Ming's now trying to run away. Has that red buff. No flash available for Shen. Pulls back the sword. Is it enough? No, it's not. Haro picks up red buff and the second kill.
A huge turnaround from EDG. Lost the first 2 kills, but able to equalize with Olaf. And this is what the pick's for. Olaf is known for chopping up bot laners. It's pretty much like the Patriot versus the Redcoats. You just go bot over and over again, and it becomes really bloody really fast.
It already has been in this matchup. Already at the start of the game, we saw a lot of focus towards the top side of the map, where Karsa was able to get a decent invade, lock down Haro nice and early. But after that, it was all eyes in the bottom lane, and it's just been a bloodbath ever since.
Yeah, and that was a really good setup from EDG. They placed their control ward in the river bush and allowed Haro to come in through the blue ramp. Was not discovered at all. While RNG on the other side were trying to place wards elsewhere on the map to try to find Haro.
Ray getting a little bit angry against Let Me there. Pops his ultimate, goes for a small trade against Na. Haro is on the top side of the map, so Let Me does have to be a little bit careful. We haven't seen too much from these 2 top laners. Teleport was used by Na to get back into lane. Ray's still holding on to his teleport, yet to go back to base and shop.
and you generally won't see much out of the top laners. It's a very passive top lane for patch 8.4. Both of these are just going to be trading CS, but however in the late game, RNG does have the split push edge, while EDG will have the team fighting edge with Maokai.
Well, Scout going aggressive in the mid lane. Xiaohu tries to use his ultimate to get away. There's no crowd control to stop this. Is able to get back to safety.
Very close on that. Remember, Ryze can no longer use his stopwatch, and he doesn't even have the stopwatch in this patch. So just getting by without using any summoners, I might add, with the shielding from the double Q.
But EDG, Haru's just been so proactive on this Olaf pickup. A different type of jungler when he's able to get such an aggressive pick.
I like what they're doing for Haru. They're really simplifying his job. What Haru used to do is he had to set up vision for the bot lane in order for them to get aggressive. They're skipping out the set vision step, and they're just telling him to gank over and over again. And that fits the playstyle that Olaf has.
There you go. A nerf to Tracker's Knife is actually a buff to Haru as Xiaohu misses his rune prison there against Scout. Instead takes down the minions, clears that out. Kasa has been farming up the Storm though. He is about 20 CS or approaching 20 CS ahead of Haru and still counter jungling against EDG's jungler. Finds Scout here, wants to try and lock him down, but Scout slides away.
And this is the high point of RNG's composition. They do have priority in the mid lane now with Ryze over Azir.
Kasa steal this. He's already been able to take the first red buff away for Haru. Goes for it, picks up the steal against EDG's jungler once again, denying that buff. Haru flashing over the wall, pops the Ragnarok, goes to town, very low. Can he get the kill? No, he can't. Kasa gets a heal as well as the Stand United. Scout is trying his hardest to take him down, even flashing for it. But Ming, what a big taunt! He'll still fall to the Sand Soldiers, but they get 2 kills in return. Now Ray wants a piece of the action as well. Rotates down to the mid lane, not able to get anything done with it though.
Oh, and even though EDG are the team that's most likely to use a Shen support, they forgot about Ming. They forgot about that Stand United coming in and saving Karsa's life. It took so long for them to take him down. Even used Maokai's Nature's Grasp, didn't manage to get it.
Karsa was able to pick up the first red buff at the start of the match, returns for the second, and it starts a skirmish between the two teams. This is where we expect RNG to be stronger at the moment, and they showcase that at this skirmish.
That red smite was so important. Stealing the buff, getting that extra regen, getting that extra damage, really swung the entire skirmish into RNG's favor right there.
Even gave Let Me a small advantage. He was not required during that skirmish. Stayed on the top side of the map. His teleport's coming back off of cooldown much faster than Ray's is at the moment.
Close play, but this is what we predicted out of RNG. You don't necessarily have to win the bot lane. You can let your 2v2 do most of the work.
We were just watching that bottom lane as both iBoy and Mako were pushing in, but Xiaohu's the one that's getting ganked here. Does not have his flash available, but does have ultimate. Instead, he just turns around and says, you know what, I will fight both of you. Come at me. Scout now incredibly low. Xiaohu goes forward, barely misses it. Can the minions do it? No, they can't. Almost a solo kill in the mid lane, but this opens up, taking down mid lane out of turret because Haru's been pushed off as well.
And that was such a close fight. Karsa overstepping the Realm Warp by just a little bit. He had his flash and his Q, so he actually got on board. They could have secured that kill. But it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. They're still able to get that chip damage on the mid tower.
It's red buff on Xiaohu, and he has Karsa in his back pocket. He's zoning away Haru, making sure he can't clear any of these minions that are helping him take down this turret. Very early push towards the mid lane outer turret. It's one of the harder outer turrets to take down in this matchup. And RNG will pick up the first one, going over to Xiaohu as well.
This is why I favor RNG in this matchup. They have so many points that they can punish you. And the Ryze is critical in this matchup. I'm kind of surprised EDG actually went for Azir. Azir is not traditionally one of Scout's better champions. It's a sit back and wait champion. That's not what Scout wants to do.
No, it is not. Haru has actually been caught out again, forced to use Ragnarok. Xiaohu's still trying to chase him down, despite that ultimate being popped. Very aggressive plays coming out from RNG.
And just look at the itemization from Haru. He's stuck in a very bad place. Knows that he doesn't have the level lead to really go into the Warmogs. Instead, has to go for mana items and try to hash it out with probably going for the more glacial items. It's just really bad early game from Olaf, and that's not a champion that could recover well.
He's still able to pick up quite a few kills in the early game. Haru was very impactful in countering that bottom lane gank, at least pull something back for EDG. Top starter Matt Let Me being a little bit aggressive against Ray here. Gets the stun, but it's just 2 tanks going at it. Nothing much is going to happen on the top side of the map for now.
Sorry, just to clean up my previous point, he's going for the Righteous Glory instead of the Warmogs, which is the item you would go if you were ahead in the matchup and you had that level HP to really sustain it.
He's already picked up a Giant Spell, so trying to correct his way, it seems, at the moment. Let's see what Haro picks up later on in the match. For now, going back down to the bottom lane, where we saw a lot of the early action take place between these two teams. Uzi's gone back to base, has his Berserker Greaves, picked up the components for his Infinity Edge as well, whereas iBoy is at that difficult item spot for the Rage Blade, where he has the pickaxe as well as the recurve bow.
And the important thing is to look at the CS. Even though iBoy had a better early laning phase and a better matchup, because they don't have mid priority, he's actually falling behind in CS. He has to take the Xiaohu pressure into account, so he can't CS as well.
Unlike every other one of Uzi's matchups, this is not a 16 CS difference for him at 10 minutes into the match. Very even between these two bottom lane duos. The veteran going up against the newcomer in the league.
Well, he's not against LWX, so just to throw that out there a little bit.
See lots of vision being placed down in the river for EDG at the moment, trying to protect that bottom lane duo. Castler knows that Haro is on the bottom side of the map, so he's trying to take down the Rift Herald. We'll get some help coming out from his mid lane if he needs it.
We do have to note that a lot of this vision advantage is coming because Ming had his Watchers earlier. He has that Sight Stone, so the bottom control is going to go over to the support who actually has Snowball this game.
Even Let Me rotating into the top side of the jungle to help out Xiaohu pick up blue buff.
This is a very favorable trade for RNG. The laning phase is almost over with the mid lane down already. So getting that Herald, I think it's so much better than the Ocean Drake.
At least EDG gets something in that trade. It's not just going to be a free objective for RNG, but Caster's been tracking these red buffs down to the second that they spawn. With the focus on the bottom side of the map for EDG allows them to take this one quite freely. EDG still playing very aggressively on the bottom side of the map. Haro's coming in to look and see if he can help with taking down this turret. Mako takes a little bit of damage from the taunt that comes out from Ming.
There's a lot of teleports on RNG's side. They can do the double teleport into the bot lane. That's why you see EDG not willing to push their 3v2 advantage anymore.
RNG don't have the best flank wards, but they do have one at the Gromp camp of EDG in the bottom lane. EDG were trying to push through in that bottom side of the map, but RNG used the pressure on the bottom side to take down a top lane outer turret. That's 2 turrets to none, and propels their gold leader 3,500 ahead of EDG.
And they still have the Herald in their back pocket. They can use that to crack even more on the top side of the map. They're able to hold the bottom side while overloading the top side. That's what double teleports does for you.
Castle's still farming up a Storm as well. He's still 25 CS ahead of Karo. A full level above the Olaf as well on this Sejuani pick, picking up the core components of his tanky items for Sejuani.
And I guarantee you, this is where Frost Current is on the analyst desk and having her head kind of tilted downwards, screaming to the sky, "Clear Love, where are you?"
There's nowhere to be seen at the moment, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the audience are asking the same question. Haro has not had a bad game so far, but Castler just looks on form coming into this match. We already heard from Mako saying that it looks like he is synergizing so well with his team after the initial few matches that were a little bit shaky for him.
That's the scary part about RNG. 8.4, in my opinion, buffs him up significantly. Karsa is one that wants to look for contact in the jungle, and that's what's going to happen over and over in 8.4. You can't just leave wards and then walk out of the enemy jungle. And in order to secure, you have to stay there.
And we've already seen that strength from RNG. They've been winning those 2v2 skirmishes. Already EDG are trying to retreat away from those fights at the moment. First turret was picked up in the middle lane from it. But EDG are really well known for their 5-on-5 team fights, and we're approaching the mid game where that could break out between the two teams. And we've seen them go up against teams like IGB, 10,000 gold behind, and they can still take a 5-on-5 fight. RNG, yes, they are good at team fights as well, but can they match up to the caliber that EDG are well known for?
That's a very hard question for RNG to answer. And if you ask me which team is the scariest in the LPL with Baron, I would have to give it to EDG. They're so coordinated in terms of those pushes and team fights. Their macro play has been on top of the LPL for so long. So while RNG do have a current lead, they need to push it.
And they are pushing it this time through objectives in the bottom lane, using the Rift Herald charge to help out Uzi take down the final outer turret against EDG. Bottom lane outer is going to fall, and they pick up a nice goal lead for themselves. Now over 4,000 ahead of EDG.
Ooh, and RNG really have a really smooth path to victory. They have another Mountain Drake they can pick up, on their leisure. I don't think EDG can contest at this point, and then they transition straight to Baron, where they have a Rise ultimate to send the Sejuani to the back. So there's a lot of game plan being written for RNG right now. Very easy execution as well. EDG, I feel like they need some turbulence to happen. They need a fight or a pick where they really throw RNG off balance. If it goes the way it has been, it's a little too easy for RNG at this moment.
Well, where do you think we're going to see that turbulence come out for EDG? Because at the moment, it's 3 minutes until the first Baron buff is going to spawn. There's no Rift Herald to be taken. All their other turrets are down. They're going to be pushed to their side of the map as well. It seems a bit difficult for them to create that opportunity until Baron spawns.
If you're talking about big plays from EDG, I think they have one Mr. Big Shot, and that is Mako on his Alistar champion right now. That champion can flank, can make catches, but you're right, it's very difficult, and I wouldn't give it a high chance of it happening. EDG, they're probably going to have to weather the storm, and at this rate, it's going to be very easy for RNG to actually pick up this Baron. They're already setting up on the red side.
Looks like they're trying to put all their eggs in the iBoy basket at the moment. He's completed his Rage Blade, going for his next attack speed item. The flip side, though, he's up against Uzi. Already has his Infinity Edge completed Tristan, as well as Boots 2, looking for his first Zeal item as well. Still pushing this bottom lane all by himself, picking up the solo experience as well as gold.
This is getting very dangerous from EDG. It is at the tipping point. A little bit more gold over to RNG, and it's going to be a complete stomp. Their composition is so well in, works so well in sieges. The range from UZI, and also the poke coming out from Let Me. EDG can't afford to let RNG get Baron. If they get Baron, it's such an easy execution for them.
See the lane matchups at the moment for RNG. Parking Uzi in the bottom lane, farming up. Let Me as well, as Xiaohui doing the same thing. They had Kasa and Ming inside both the red buff and blue buff of EDG's jungle, trying to stop the rotations coming out from EDG, constantly rotating around the map. EDG will move down towards blue buff, pick that one up for Scout. However, it seems like, again, Kasa is waiting for red buff to spawn.
This is the third red buff Karsa has stolen this game. Actually, the fourth red buff, excuse me. And they also have complete control over the top side. How is EDG going to get their red side jungle back is the question now.
Got a little bit excited there. I thought that that was a steal coming out from now. I realized they're exactly the same team, so it was all planned coming out from RNG. Let Me is still going to continue pushing on the top side of the map. And it seems like until the next major objective spawns, RNG's plan is just to deny as many resources away from EDG and keep them pinned in vision underneath their own turrets.
I really like this adaptation from Scout. He's using the blue trinket instead of the scanner or the yellow totem. He knows that it's going to be very difficult to face check into the red side jungle, so very clever pickup by him.
Baron's going to be coming up in 20 seconds. The next Elemental Dragon has spawned as well. That's a Mountain Dragon. Uzi's going to use this time to head back to base, just shove their wave into the bottom lane in a turret. Let Me is still holding onto his teleport, still pushing on the top side of the map. We should see him recall as well. And you have to think, this is where those fights start to take place between the two teams, because Baron coming up, now EDG have something they can potentially fight for, and RNG have an objective that if they take down could snowball a massive lead for themselves.
EDG is not going to like walking into these fights, but they have to do it. You have to remember, a banner minion right now, it takes 7 shots to take down a tower. That's extremely fast. They have to do something.
And if we look at the items that we picked up, Sarah's Embrace has been complete for Xiao, who has the Abyssal Mask as well. Uzi has his first static shiv item and a banner of commands picked up by Let Me, but you look at the side of iBoy, although we're showing the gold now and he's not too far behind Uzi, he picked up a QSS as his second item on Cogmore. That's going to delay some of the damage that EDG might need in these mid-game fights.
Yeah, I know what EDG is thinking right now. They're thinking about they're so far behind that they have to sit and scale, probably defend their own high ground. But I don't think that's a good game plan in this strategy. I still think you have to contest something at the Baron. That's probably a higher opportunity. You're probably going to get a higher chance of getting back in the game rather than sitting back.
Well, they just pushed Kasa and Xiaohu away from that objective of Baron buff and got vision back for themselves. But there's the banner of command being used by Let Me. Second item pickup for Na. He is going to continue split pushing, has teleport available. Ray is being sent down to deal with him, but it's a Maokai going up against a banner of command minion.
They need Mako right here. If you look at his items, he has kept that minion dematerializer precisely for this moment, but he's nowhere on the map right now, and they're probably going to just give up this top lane tower.
Top lane in the turret's taken quite a bit of damage from Let Me already. Slowly but surely he should be able to take down the objective. Puts even more pressure on the map for RNG. Not just focusing on one objective here, making sure that they split up EDG, making sure they can't look for those perfect 5-on-5 fights.
Let Me just look so much better after their Chinese New Year. He's able to split push, able to apply laning pressure, and we're seeing this new face from him. Also, the early banner of command pickup, I really like that because it gives them a straight road to finish the game if they can correctly snowball this Baron.
Slow and steady from RNG at the moment as they still clear out vision towards the Baron buff. Still parking Uzi in the unoccupied lane and having either Ming or Kasa protect him while he does so. EDG now make a push for the mid lane outer turret. 4 members strong. Let Me's going for a duel against Ray on the top side of the map, stopping him from getting anywhere close towards the turret and clearing out minion waves wherever he can. EDG, though, they can't get enough damage onto the mid lane outer. It's defended successfully just by a Shen and Rives.
I like this patience coming out from RNG. What they're saying is that they want more distance for basically Let Me to get into the fight earlier. They want to go into the Baron after they take down the second bot lane tower.
Uzi being very aggressive against the mid lane. A scout almost kills him, forces him to get a shield out of that as well. That's an 80 carry going up against a mid lane champion.
That reminds me of my favorite Uzi play, casually walking into Bjergsen and 3-shotting him. That's I always love that play because it reminds me of the harsh reality that NA fanboys have to wake up to when they face an Asian region.
Oh no, Meanwhile, outside of that, Ray, who just came back from NA, is being ganked by both Xiaohu as well as Let Me, is tanky enough to survive the initial damage, and EDG are on their way. They want to look for a fight here. Ray is incredibly low, he flashed for it! Xiaohu goes over the wall, he picks up an easy kill with Let Me.
Right idea, but didn't pay attention to his own life.
And now everywhere around the map, RNG start to put pressure. Uzi in the top side of the map. He's taking down top lane inner turret, pushing towards the inhibitors as well. EDG just can't quite find a firm footing in this matchup after RNG got the initial leads.
The house is burning down, and I don't think you can give Rise back to RNG anymore. They need to think about their second game draft now.
Let's see if they can put up a fight, at least underneath the start. Kasa goes in for the initiation. Scout uses his ultimate as well as cleanse. Mako looks for a fight, but Shen brings back the dodge zone to make sure no damage goes down. This entire time, Let Me's taken down the bottom lane inhibitor turret with that banner of command range minion. Incredibly low. One more push from him should be enough.
It does seem like the only way out for EDG is that they have to find a pick in this bottom lane, then instantly transition into a Baron fight. I think that's their only way out, and the way they do it is they use Mako Alistar. They can dematerialize her, the pushing Bannon minion, get a kill, and then instantly rush for Baron. That's their only play. I don't see anything else.
RNG seem to be using the vision of Baron as a bait almost in this situation, making sure EDG are forced to deal with Let Me, but they can't stay too far away from that objective, while Uzi just pushes the other side lane. It's almost a 1-3-1 coming out from them, using their 80 carry as the split pusher.
And this is kind of the effect of Tracker's knife as well. Without that item, a lot of times it's harder to get your defensive vision going. The enemy team can just go into your jungle and take out the control wards. You only have stealth wards from your support now.
And just a couple of wards being picked up by the side of RNG. Everyone's still holding onto that totem ward, except for the jungler as well as support. Mako does have his support item upgraded, so he'll be able to put down some more wards for RNG as well, as they slowly deny more vision and pick up more objectives for themselves. 8,000 gold ahead of RNG. EDG, sorry, and Uzi is still pushing the top side of the map. They still control vision over Baron. EDG are trying to make another play towards this mid lane, see if they can get enough damage on this turret.
This is incredibly risky, but they want mistakes from RNG.
They're trying to collapse on top of Iboy, used his W there. That's a big cooldown for the Cogmore. RNG could look for a fight right now if they choose to take it. Iboy was able to pick up his Wits End, however, so does have 2 items on his Cogmore. Let Me is still split pushing in the bottom lane. That turret could fall with one swift push from the
RNG are not taking the bait. What EDG is trying to do is they're trying to draw Let Me towards the mid lane, away from that split pushing position. But RNG, they're perfectly capable and happy to defend.
Yep, Let Me brute forces his way into the base of EDG. Now Caster's looking to try and deny EDG from getting any vision over this Baron buff. They lock down Mako, and through his ultimate, they cut him down. RNG still splitting up EDG across the map.
If you look at the members on EDG, Scout did not stop his back, so they knew that Mako was dead. There was nothing they could do for him.
Finally, 6 minutes after Baron spawns, RNG finally make their first proactive attempt. Uzi though flashing over the wall. He wants to take down Haro. He uses the smite to try and get some more hit points. Uzi still going forward. He gets the kill. Jumps over. Gets on top of Scout. Super Mario Brothers are back in town. Double kill for Uzi.
with the reset. And Tristana has been such a staple champion for UZI, one of his best champions. If you think about Worlds, the 2 times he's been in the finals, it has been that Tristana.
And that small skirmish is exactly what RNG are doing to EDG in this game. They are stomping them at the moment. Over 10,000 gold up 26 minutes into the match, and they've had firm control of this game.
No fear whatsoever. That was so well done from Uzi. Waits until Scout's wall completely finishes, so there's no CC portion to that, and then jumps over. Such a good sequence of plays.
Even happy to charge further forward on top of Haro. Knows he can take Scout down as well.
That was beautiful timing. If he jumped any earlier, then he would have been stopped by the wall, but he waited for the wall to finish, so no CC on that part of the ultimate, and then he jumps over.
Uzi must be feeling good heading into this first matchup. Now RNG, they have Baron. They're going to take down another Elemental Dragon for themselves. Let's see how they decide to push the base against EDG. EDG do have that opportunity now to group up and fight because it's not much of the map that you can split up anymore for RNG, but is it too little too late? You're up against a Baron buff and a team that's over 12,000 gold ahead of you.
Yeah, and you do have to look at the itemizations. Even if Kog'Maw uses his W, he's not going to be able to put enough damage on a banner command minion.
So they're still splitting up EDG at the moment. Top side of that is Let Me split pushing on Nah. They have the Shen as well as the AD carry Uzi in the mid lane with Rise split pushing in the bottom side of the map, just pushing every single wave they can. And there it is. Thomas the Tank's going to charge through mid lane.
Thomas the Tank is a Frost Karen invention. I do kind of like it over the Bannon minion. It's a more unique flavor.
Hey, don't steal my invention away from me. Clemens.
It was yours?
This was my invention.
Okay, okay.
This was me.
Okay, okay, Thomas, cool down, cool down.
But RNG are not able to use that banner command minion as Mako is able to stop that with the minion dematerializer. Still trying to look for other places to split push. As the turret goes up in the bottom lane to deny that opportunity. Lammy is still chipping away at the top side of the map. Everyone else from RNG are still in the mid lane as they take down the final inner turret and looking towards the base of EDG.
RNG are not going to group. EDG has to force things. They have to group up as 5 and do a Hail Mary. This is not going to get better for them as the game goes on further.
You only get one final play. EDG have been known to be able to do that. Ray is still trying to keep Let Me away from these turrets, but slowly and surely Nah will chip away at it. Mid lane now in the siege once again. Every time Uzi steps up with the extra range he gets, he's going to be able to chip away at the turrets. Top lane inhibitor turret is going to fall. Now only the mid lane inhibitor is left.
I don't like that there's no Righteous Glory on the side of Haro because that is going to facilitate their hero play. Without it, how are they even going to engage? RNG is never going to group up. They're just going to continue this 1-3-1. We've heard this on the analyst desk. This is what has made them successful, and they're showing it right now.
Already inhibitors are so low. They take down the final inhibitor turret as well, collapsing on top of iBoy, but he escapes. Mako looks for the reinitiation for EDG. Can't get it. 2 inhibitors fall through that distraction of a play that comes out from RNG. Now they can just collapse towards the mid lane. EDG are falling apart.
EDG get nothing out of a 5v3 engage. They could not catch up any members. They needed the Righteous Glory from Haro. That was... I don't like that itemization from him.
At the moment, he's got a Randuin's Omen instead first, trying to be a little bit more tanky against the crit damage that would come out from Tristana, but it's almost too little too late for them. 13,000 gold lead for RNG. Every single inhibitor has been taken down. The map is RNG's at the moment. They can take this one slow and steady.
They are being pushed to the brink, and if you look at the RNG for RNG, they're getting triple Mountain Drakes. There's nothing that EDG can do to defend a push.
Take a look at the gold leads that they've acquired as well. Let Me, he's almost 4,000 gold ahead of Ray at the moment, who's been stuck underneath turrets this entire match. 3,000 in the jungle. Mid lane's a 2,000 gold lead. Uzi has a 3,000 gold lead as well. RNG split up the leads that they have across the map, and they're using them so effectively.
And it's so much about patience from RNG. They never grouped up. They never forced the Baron play. They waited until Let Me had a solid footing in the side lanes, that he could split push and have that distance advantage to head over towards the Baron. They didn't rush things, and this is a new growth from RNG. It's a shot-calling improvement.
Kind of shows the difference between the two teams. EDG has had a good start to this split, whereas RNG did not. However, in recent form, EDG have been dropping games to teams like Rogue Warriors, and now RNG, they have been looking good recently, especially since they brought back Uzi as their AD carry.
This is going to be RNG's return to the top. So far, they haven't been a top team in the LPL aside from IG. They've dropped against RW, and this is their chance.
But their start has to be picking up a win and cleanly here against EDG in game number 1. Only the Nexus turrets are what is left. Banner Command is used onto a melee minion. Haro almost gets chunked up before a team fight can start. First necessary has taken some damage, but EDG are still holding on strong, still trying to clear out as many waves as they can.
And RNG are holding the better conclave here. Let Me can rush into those towers, and it's going to be a very good Gnar ultimate if he does it there.
iBoy still stepping up, still trying to be a threat in these team fights. RNG have to be careful of that Kog'Maw whenever the Bio-Arcane Barrage is active.
Here is the last push finally from RNG.
Caster decides to initiate. Scouts forced to use his glance. Gets knocked back though as Mako looks to lock down Uzi. Uzi is unlocked. Low health bars for the side of EDG. Ray jumps forward. Xiaohu will get a stand united to protect himself. But EDG, they're stuck in their own fountain. They have to step up and defend this final turret. Can they do that? It's going to fall shortly. Scout looking to try to see if he can go in. EDG are clumped up. They get that final turret. RNG say, you know what? We can take this team fight slow. It's up to you, EDG. You need to force the issue here.
EDG still have one more tower to hang on to, the Azir tower, but there's so many super minions coming in. How are they possibly going to defend? EDG, you have to pull the trigger somewhere. You didn't do it when at 20 minutes, you didn't do it at 30 minutes, and now you're just sitting back. I don't understand this.
And RNG say, you know what? We can just head back. We can go shop, pick up more items for ourselves, and clean up this game because there's only a Nexus that's left standing.
I don't think EDG realized the situation they're in. It's never going to get better. They needed to pull the trigger. They needed to pull the trigger then and now, but they still didn't do it. Sure, your chances might not be high, but you put yourself in that situation. You have to find a way to dig yourself out.
Well, patch 8.4 has allowed RNG to be very clinical with their 2v2 skirmishes and working around both Caster and Xiaohu, who are on the top side of the map. EDG need to step something up going into game number 2 and try and contest that coming out from RNG. Because we've already seen how RNG are so clinical in the way they execute games whenever they get that lead from the mid lane and jungle.
Yeah, it's definitely a chokeout on 8.4. We're going to see this tempo a lot more in other games, but here comes the possible final push.
They've initiated the chokehold, now they have to put EDG to sleep. Let's see if they can do it. Looking for that final push. Uzi, he's completed his items, just sitting on a QSS to negate some crowd control coming out from EDG. Ming goes in, locks down iBoy, Caster piles in the crowd control as well. Lemmy's about to go mega, jumps in, does he get him more? Scout knocks him back, doesn't matter. Uzi gets into the back lines. At the start of this match, Caster said that this is going to be a fantastic show. He wants to know now, are you entertained by that performance from RNG?
Massive play from Let Me at the end, jumps over the Azir wall and slams 3 carries onto the terrain. Beautiful finish from RNG, and it really does stem from the draft phase. You cannot give Ryze over to Xiaohu. That's too much priority in the mid lane. I don't like the Azir Ryze matchup from EDG.
And that's just game number 1, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go again. BBQ has their way. Get on the blue side this time around.
Yeah, we'll see what the priority is on the blue side. Usually Sion looms as a blue side ban, but against Kingzone it was blue and red side banned by BBQ. And the Azir will be taken away. Talia into the Azir, didn't go the way BBQ hoped to. Syndra into the Azir, I should say, in the first game. Syndra did some good things, and it could be one that Tempt returns to. Maybe not in this series. Ghost is definitely a serial Kog'Maw player, and Kog'Maw being removed from the meta in patch 8.3 really impacted their drafting choices. for BBQ, but he's back, and they don't want to deal with a blue side Cogmore draft, so we see it banned away by Kingzone. That's an Ezreal.
I don't know what that is.
It's probably prey related.
I don't know who Dodo Real is, but that's what they said. I suppose that's Prey. I think you were spot on. Lots of fan signs for Prey tonight.
If it's Ezreal, it's certainly not about Ghost. I'm putting it out there. Prey is one of the most famous Ezreals of all time.
Shots fired.
Kalista ban on red side. Okay, we've only had 2 teams play the Kalista, but seems like King's don't want to deal with that pick. Does mean they may have to deal with the Olaf, because guess what? If you don't take it away from Peanut, you know exactly what sort of hurt he'll give out. So takeaway pick on the Olaf, but this is one of those drafts where the OPs are left open. On red side, they banned away champions. We never see ban on patch 8.4. On the red side, that means there's a bonanza of power picks available, and it's Varus Galio on the red side.
I know Olaf is strong, but Galio has been strong for a long time, and Varus is also incredibly big in the AD carry role. They give 2 of those picks away. I want to see some really strong picks here from BBQ now. They're thinking about the Corki in the mid lane, very common. Into the Galio, can farm up and be a huge source of damage for your team.
And there's still what ifs here, because Olaf is seen as a blocker pick for Varus in many drafts, because he has the Ragnarok to ignore the chains of corruption and other general peel that Varus has, and Varus has no escape. So we see Trick get a big lead that might be very fruitful for the side of BBQ. You're right, they take the scaling option in the role of the mid lane, but they're also considering taking the scaling option in the role of the AD carry. If you take enough scaling, you might just be slammed down by the Galio and the Varus' lane control. So Olaf usually wants pushing lanes. So far, while Corki can equalize lanes, hard push not really available to him early. There's some options available to Kingzone. Let's see how they round out the first round of their draft.
Give this guy strength. I think he's a student. And Camille coming on through.
Now we have the guaranteed Galio ultimate coming through, the ultimatum into the hero's entrance.
That's a scary first 3 picks, Papa.
Yeah, especially to give over to Kingzone, because if they decide a battlefield's there, we know they're going to commit to it. Game 1, it showed us this. Ban start, and because they're telegraphing it to be a top lane Camille, Fiora is going to be banned away. Crazy played Fiora in the last series, so they're showing some respect that the skill matchup, which does err to the side of the Fiora, will not be available.
Kha'Zix taken away from Peanut. BBQ feels like the guy who saw a cool new pick, and they pick up the Olaf, and Kingzone are like, well, I guess we'll just go with these other strong picks. But looking to target Peanut, they already take away his Sejuani. The Kha'Zix are going to be taken off the field as well. What else are they going to consider targeting here? Maybe a Zac, something like that.
Would add to the engaged synergy, even though Peanut has moved away from the Zac recently. They have strong lanes, so I think they have the breathing room to go for a Zac and potentially be invaded on by the Olaf. And they will go for the combat junglers. Going to take away the Jax as well. BDD fans in the audience showing their love with that hand signal.
BDD is a cupcake on that sign.
Oh. We were treated to the MVP video here in the stadium, where they have their pet pig, which was suitably adorable.
It's so cute.
And
highly recommend. I put that on my Twitter because it was so cute.
well, we're going to overpower the bot lane. Varus Braum. Right now, Braum is undefeated for Gorilla. Will be his 8th game, 7-0 so far. They have a very dominant 2v2. It's almost, well, I'm going to say it is impossible to outdraft that 2v2 when you already have Tristana locked in. Unless we're going range support, unless the specific range support I was thinking of, a Braum, for example, to punish them is locked in. But Ignar is more likely to jump onto the Thresh, which has been successful for them recently. Are they really going to draft more scaling? I think they are.
Well, when you already got your hands in the cookie jar, might as well dive in and pick up as many cookies as possible, and they'll do exactly that.
What's the scaling support choice? Find a scaling support, BBQ.
Viger. Something I've been seeing a lot on the ladder.
How's that treating you?
It works from time to time on solo queue. It's surprisingly effective, but I don't want to see it here, Papa.
We wait and see. An Ignar special is always a possibility to happen. Does have that very deep champion pool. It's usually aggressive. Seems like it's finally selected. It's going to be the Taric.
Ooh.
Necessary with how squishy the team is, but Varus Braum is going to have a field day with Tristana Taric. Unless Tristana Taric goes very aggressive at level 2 or level 3. And look who's
quick.
back. Back
that
again.
Was really quick, Papa.
It is the old favorite for Peanut, his famous Nidalee that was never defeated on the Rocks Tigers, undefeated in over a year's worth of play. It went down in the first series, but it wasn't Khan in the top lane. It was Rascal. And welcome back, Nidalee, the old favorite of Peanut.
Peanut never one to back down from a challenge. He says, you want a battle ward in my jungle? I'm just going to go into your jungle. And I love it. I love the aggressive nature of Peanut.
Oh.
Certainly works with his play style, but will it work in this game?
I'm quaking in my boots at this draft from Kingzone. Super aggressive, guaranteed engage with the Hextech Ultimatum and the Galio. The Galio to rotate first, scaling in all 3 lanes from BBQ. Kingzone will need to make some grave mistakes in the first 20 minutes because the reliability of this aggressive-minded comp will mirror the execution of their aggression in game 1. They've got a whole lot going on, and BBQ, best of luck.
Best of luck to them. You mentioned all the scaling in them. They have the Corki in the mid lane, sure to have an easy time against Galio, the GP up top. Maybe a bit of a harder time up against Camille, but then, of course, Tristana down in the bottom lane, the hardest of times. We'll see how they can make it into that late game. There's definitely going to be some pressure on the Trick to help keep Nidalee away and to somehow help out those lanes.
Not often does the strangulation become implied, but the amount of early power on Kingzone's side. They've got the WMDs, they're ready to let them off. They have so much power on their side. Let's see how they go. It's a treat to see Peanut back on the Nidalee, 3rd time this season.
Well, everybody looking towards this draft for another aggressive game. Let's get into it. Game number 2 of Kingzone versus BBQ.
We're starting already.
Close. Very, very close on that one. Doubtful if they could have followed up, but had the stun landed, certainly they could have chunked him out. But either way, that's going to be a flash very early on and already a weak lane in the bottom side.
Yeah, it does mean now that the 2v2 losing lane is down a flash for even more early game presence allowed for the side of Kingzone. I think Peanut kind of has a paddock to jump around on the Nidalee. But we have seen Peanut be a bit too aggressive and be caught in the enemy jungle a couple of times. So we'll see if that sort of turnaround can happen. The major objective they were trying to claim bot side was a ward at the enemy red buff. Because if you put 2 and 2 together, Olaf loves to fall low in his jungle to power farm it. And Nidalee loves to kill people in the enemy jungle. So that's some important information for Peanut to have. Never played the Nidalee on SK Telecom T1 an entire year's worth of play.
They never let him, Bob, but they're like, nope.
The meta didn't let it necessarily, but it was one of those things where it didn't really fit the identity of an SKT jungler. He has that bigger option on Kingzone to take a carry role when he wants to, and largely he hasn't. He has been on the Jarvan, he has been on the Zac, he has been on the team picks. Sejuani in game 1 has been pretty much comfort for him, but does get moments like this where the draft is set up for Peanut to be the star. And when he gets the Olaf, we already saw what he does on that. So this could definitely be a big game for Peanut.
Certainly everybody who is fans of Kingzone wanted that repeat performance from Peanut, who certainly is gathering a lot of fans, more fans than he already has, one of the most popular players. And speaking of which, an early ward from Crazy does get punished with an early flash.
Second flash blown in the laning phase for the team that is on the scaling side of things. See what Olaf can do, because usually Olaf trades upon having strong lanes to invade. Already difficult to invade Nidalee, who is slippery at the worst of times. And a lot of gank assist in top, in mid, in bot. Every lane has lockdown CC pre-6 and post-6. So profitable lanes to the side of Kingzone. But Olaf wants to look for the drop. Old pick for Trick. He's got the Predator taken on the Jarvan. Of course, we'll take it on the Olaf as well. It's going to be Electrocute on both Nidalee and the Galio from the side of Kingzone.
Certainly, Tens is going to have to be careful. He took fleet footwork with teleport. So if a flash taunt comes in and you can't get the Valkyrie off, you might be looking at a straight-up death as long as that spear comes in. Speaking of which, BDD thinking about it, almost spotted
He's
out there.
pinged out there.
Yeah. So there you go. Does spot it out.
Trick's jungling top side. They're thinking about a turret dive onto Khan, who's very slippery on the Camille. It's maxing W, which seems standard in the matchup against Gangplank because you can't take Q trades.
Well, here we go. Trick coming up on the top side, but it's really just to help out with an extra axe as he did his farming on the top.
We like this lane ward because they knew that Trick was playing top side and taking the enemy Krugs. Why not ward your own Krugs as the collapse happens?
Ooh, Ignar looking for the stun here, but Gorilla, good response. Gonna allow Peanut to farm up as much as possible before he's forced out of there. Doing a good job of invading into Trick's jungle as he goes into his own.
Early laning phase, not enough AP to actually power through the backline waves. The top lane, Crazy doing well. So for now, at least, pressure not ratcheted up as high as we might have expected. Khan fell low to the chunky out in the gank. He's also behind in experience, only now catches up to level 5. So no all-in attempted by Khan, even with flash advantage. And so far, Nidalee aggression hasn't turned into anything. So not a terror of a time yet for the side of BBQ.
Early cooldown boots, extremely early from the side of Trick. He wants to get in there and get in there fast. Generally, you see the boots taken early for the Predator, obviously, but not upgraded this early. Does mean his clear, rather, will be a little bit slower, but certainly his ganks will be stronger.
Yeah, very strong clearer. The last champion I can remember who rushed cooldown reduction boots from the jungle was Rengar back around 2014 Worlds in Korea. You remember Dandy would always favor that build. Interact with the Predator well, so you can understand why he goes for. He's level 4, but gallivanting down bot lane with the water walking.
Here we go, Predator coming in, flashing away from the Dazzle there, and Gorilla gonna hop on to his teammates as they do run away. Only one flash, and I guess a heal there on the side of Prey to get them out of dodge.
And that's the option you have with the Tristana Taric, is to engage with the Bastion Link onto the Tristana and the Dazzle. Doesn't find a kill, and now Kingzone jungling top side, threatening a turret dive. Will at least try to zone away the Gangplank, who's level 5 awkwardly. Would love to pick up just a little bit more experience to ult the wave. The timing here is actually perfect for Kingzone. There's not an option available for Crazy. He just wants to zone him away from experience. The longer he doesn't hit level 6, the happier he is.
Now Trick has to come up and help him, but now it turns into a 2-on-2. Who's going to get there quicker? Obviously the Galio. Let's see if they want to continue in. But it doesn't look like it, as BDD spotted here on a ward. And they will just head away. The blasting plant has spawned by now, even though it is a bit later on 8.4. And here we go. Finally, they do engage, and Trick is going to go down to a long spear from Peanut. First blood goes over to the jungler.
Yeah, they disengaged with the blast point. This went straight back in because they could see Trick on the ward. Squishy as squishy can be with no Ruby Crystal towards the Cinderhawk. He dies. Ultimatum long enough to allow the hero's entrance, even at level 1, to be summoned there. Too easy for the side of Kingzone, and they get a bonus control ward as well.
Speaking of control wards, Crazy investing into that lane ward. It does finally get taken out. Let's see how this happens.
They went out on the blasting plant, and then Khan just says, well, this is going to be a kill. And it was too easy going on to Trick. Remember that it's no Tracker's Knife, so Peanut was always going to be relatively buff. And speaking of Peanut,
Crazy getting low, and Peanut is bloodthirsty, picks up another kill. Khan nearly loses his life for it, but in the end, very well calculated.
Can any team be more relatively buff than a team with Peanut with less warding on the map? You can go Red Smite as if it's solo queue now because there is no Tracker's Knife. He's already gone Legendary on Olaf. Seeing him run away on the Nidalee as well. And they don't even need this to happen. He's shown that finally he has been able to play Zac, Sejuani, the Cinderhawk junglers as recently as Game 1. How about this as a palate cleanser all the way back to Nidalee?
Essentially having his way with the Rift so far, and we're only 8 minutes in. The wonder of Nidalee when it goes right. Still waiting for some kind of gank on the mid lane with the flash from BDD, especially because the QSS not built from the side attempt. Just going to delay that as much as possible. We'll have to wait and see. So, Trick himself just hitting level 6. Perhaps he'll be looking for a chance to redeem himself after a pretty weak start in this game. He'll be picking up the red buff and moving towards a lane, perhaps that he could gank. So far out of those lanes, looks like bottom is the cleanest, the one he might have the most success in.
And the issue is, though, because his experience has been stolen, level 6 now compared to Peanut level 7, and he's gone no Cinderhulk, he's gone for the very early boots too, he's really squishy. When he ults at Varus, he loses the free resist, and he might just straight up die to focus fire, so they have to be very specific about the lane they choose, and also respect the hero's entrance. That is about 15 seconds or less away from cooldown being up, so it's not as trivial. And maybe even the chain link, maybe even the ultimate from Tarek needs to be invested at the right moment, or he could just straight up die. Worst thing he can do right now is go for a trade kill bot lane, because they really need to double down on trading up, and that's already difficult to do when you've opted into scaling everywhere. And now the Olaf's behind in terms of combat effectiveness, the Nidalee counter jungling is even more controlled for Nidalee.
Yep, double ward in that side with the trinket. Also lays down a trap onto the Krugs just to make sure she has the timer on that. And immediately goes for this Cloud Drake with the help of Gorilla. Nobody's in there, no vision. It looks like a free one for Kingzone on this side. As Temps, again, he's just cleaning up the mid wave. So here we go, Cloud Drake gonna go over to the side of Kingzone.
Actually took the Gathering Storm on the jungle Nidalee. Interesting, I saw the Gathering Storm proc onto the Nid. And you talk about the bottom lane being a great place to take objectives. I think the Rift Herald will be equally as free in this game because of all the scaling. BBQ wave goodbye to early Drakes, to early Rift Heralds. They have to be so much more conservative. It's why we don't really understand first pick Olaf into weaker lanes. But maybe Olaf can get a trade here.
Yeah, here we go. Not looking so good for Khan. He's just trying to survive here, but the barrel coming in. And finally, that last swing of the 2 axes as Trick finally gonna pick up a kill in this one.
And that was the teleport from Gorilla, not from the mid laner. So that's why they didn't complete it there. Wasn't gonna lead to anything, too late to make something happen. Looking for Trick in his jungle, though.
Oh, he snuck over here. That's a nice chunk of damage, and Trick even flashes the wall as he wants nothing to do with the 2-0 Nidalee.
You know, it was probably the right move. He wanted to get out of there. Did not want to go for any damage calculations to play tricky. Peanut will take a second camp as well. It's not going to be a buffless game, but it's certainly going to be a painful one. As Camille's joining, they want to kill Tempt.
It's going to be hard for him to get out of this one. Trying to get in range, and it almost was a solo kill over to Peanut, who's just tanking the turret. Maybe a little bit too much as the flash comes out of there. Now the TP, have they gone too far is the question. It's going to be Khan trying to make his way out, but unlimited axes, they're going to re-engage here, and that Olaf is way too low. Down he goes, not tanky at all. Now it's 3-on-1. They are styling on BBQ, but maybe a little bit too much. Here comes Corky. He's going to be able to pick up one, and Khan getting extremely low. Gonna pick up that plant. We're getting the mega zoom out here.
Oh!
Gonna zoom into Khan now, who's trying to get that hook shot up. Ignar trying to go around the right side.
Okay.
Galio goes down to the turret. It's an execution, and Khan is looking to get out the flash. He dodges it. He's trying to outplay them. The Valkyrie comes in.
He's gonna live!
Nothing they can do. Unbelievable, Khan. He pulls off the impossible again.
How does he always do it? On every champion, he surprises you. Gets away from all of it. Brain Gorilla walking up. The execution as well. Kingzone were too aggressive. They should have been punished, but they only give up 1 kill.
You said it before, every game looks like an exhibition game. Khan feels like he's playing solo queue, trying to tilt his opposition. Definitely not a feel-good moment for BBQ after that play.
Now we dial it down again because apparently the game must go on. Ghost doesn't enjoy that reality. He's getting slammed in the 2v2 as expected. Going for the Tristana when Tarek had been roaming as well. Bot lane completely uninvolved in this game. Brain Gorilla walked up to mid lane, got some autos in, but could do no more. Bray always looking for his options when it comes to a Chains of Corruption onto Ghost, as I guess...
okay, this is the replay of how BDD died to a turret.
He just walked into it, I think. wasn't quite in parlay ranges. On the main screen, we've got action going on.
Peanut is at it again. They're going to knock away that Galio. The Cannon Barrage comes in. Another situation doesn't look good for Kingzone. But again, it looks like they're going to get out here. The Axe coming in. They're turning out the trick. Cosmic Radiance now on the Dazzle. Looking to get onto Gorilla, who flashes away after using the perfectly timed ultimate. Now they're turning out the trick. Peanut, he wants blood again. He's going to get one. And flashing in now is Prey. One auto would do it, but he misses. And finally, Temp's coming in. The perfect block.
How does no one die?
What is happening on the Rift? Kingzone are untouchable.
Are we sure we shouldn't pause the game and check for bugs? Because they just never die in any of these. They take wrong trades, they're too aggressive, but they never pay for it. And they're always there as a team of 5 to back each other up.
And they always want more. They're never satisfied. A TP
Speaking
is
of
coming
more,
in. They will go for another kill. They're going for Ghost. There's one. Can they make it 2? The cleanse on Ignar, will it save his life? The answer here is looking like a no. The heal coming in, Peanut goes too deep. Again, they're just playing with their food. The phosphorus bomb misses Gorilla. And again, they're just styling on BBQ all day and all night.
It feels like a 6v5 in this series because there's always another Kingzone guy rocking out with a teleport or a roam to try to make the kills happen. Apparently there's a top lane happening in all of this. I didn't know. I thought the lane assignments were done ages ago. We're only 14 minutes in. There's been 8 kills, but there's been unlimited action. Tempt in all of this is very fed, we have to remember, and had some great escapes of his own. The rest of his team a bit dazed, wondering what's happened on the Rift in the first 15 minutes.
Huh. Okay, we got to take a little bit of a breather after all that action. I thought it couldn't get more after game 1, but I was wrong. We're going to take another look at this very extended replay.
It will show you live, picture-in-picture, but not action happening there. Peanut goes in, but the turnaround options here are great. The disengage on BDD was big, actually. The Buster shot was perfect, and when Trick came in, they realized they needed to make their escape through the turret. And then you thought, with Tempt coming in and the ultimate, the Cosmic Radiance being armed, that this would be bad news for Kingzone. But the Chains of Corruption to stop Ghost doing any consistent damage. BDD able to occupy Tempt on the top side. No one ever dies against Kingzone as Gorilla walks up and basically has the biggest note button ever to the Corki, who wonders how he could not kill the 200 health AD carry. They back away from all of it. Outrageous stuff from Kingzone, and a confirmation that Korea does a lot of the best things right in League of Legends. We have the best fiestas as well.
At least we do when Kingzone is playing the very extended replay. Like I said, it just never seems to end. I'm just glad they got Poggers enabled in time for this series, because certainly you can put a label on it. That would be the one I would use. Peanut just...
that last TO actually told him, and he was he couldn't get the E in because the turret went behind the turret and opened up space. Outrageous. Signar really wants to flash.
Let's see if he can. The answer's going to be no. Prey shutting him down with the help of his teammates. He picks up the kill. And a second Cloud Drake. You guys wanted action. This is certainly another way to get some more action in the game.
Peanut should maybe not go up and trifle with Tempt, who is very powerful in this game. But understandably, everyone in Kingzone has decided they're Superman. No one wanted to be Lois Lane or any of the other characters. We've got 5 Supermen running across the side of Kingzone. I don't know if that works with the lore, but they're rolling with it. Here's Khan roaming into mid lane. They're going to break the turret. Kingzone DragonX get the first turret of the game.
It's very hard to lose your smile as you cast a game like this, as they're some of the best players in the world, and they love to just make things entertaining. We thought it was a grudge, but perhaps they just wanted to fight tonight. This is not, you know, that steady, calculated Korean League of Legends play. This is Kingzone saying, we are better than you, and we are going to beat you as quickly as humanly possible.
And it's a big departure for a couple of their losses. Think of the series against Jin-Air, where the games are going along. We had the latest first blood in the history of League of Legends at 39 minutes in a Kingzone series when they decided they wanted to play scaling. You always knew that the pin would drop and they would decide to play for early game. This is the early game God comp from the side of Kingzone. They have so much damage to come. There is the outside chance. that you get all your carries online from BBQ and can do it in the late game. But the late game is looking 15 minutes away, which is an eternity, given how much happened in the first 15 minutes of this game.
Well, Trick wants to accelerate things himself, but he's on a ward. Immediately the pings come out. My only thought here is that Kingzone are going to take advantage of this to try to make a play. We'll see if that actually happens. Peanut, he's just waiting for it. They're going to make the play happen themselves.
Who's
the
flanking
TP comes in. They're like, wait, what the hell? Are we the ones that are debated? The answer is yes. As crazy, no way out of this one. Hextech Ultimatum even used to secure that kill.
Sometimes it doesn't feel fair when the enemy Braum teleports behind you. It already accounted for everything else. The Galio was in mid lane. They will get a turret from this, so that's still good news. The side of BBQ. He's probably not going to try to repel 1v2. I say probably.
You said probably. Maybe you said it a little bit too fast. His Ghost is getting low.
He got the
Prey.
movement speed.
Yeah, look at that. The Dazzle misses.
Does it. He did it!
He actually did it. 1v2 Prey. He doesn't want to let Peanut get all the praise in this one.
He had the presence of mind to turn around and get the rune there, the fleet footwork movement speed just to pick up the kill. Outrageous stuff from Prey, who sidesteps the Dazzle as well. My headset's about to fall off.
Yeah.
We had so much action here.
Predator comes in from Chick. They're like, what? You really want to fight us? I don't think so. As meanwhile, Peanut says, okay, I'll let my teammates get some action. I'll take the objective this time. Rift Herald is going to go down to our resident Fiend line.
And that's the crazy thing, is that you have to use words like probably about a damn 1v2. Why are you not running away, Prey? You're going to lose the turret, because he turns around, throws out the Chains of Corruption that is a target ability when Prey uses it, has the presence of mind to turn around first to get the fleet footwork movement speed, and then to casually sidestep the Dazzle. Outrageous skill, and we said 5 Supermen. It keeps being reiterated by what we see on the Rift. Everyone has decided that they are the carry of Kingzone. There is Prey at the center of the LCK, someone that everyone here knows. Walks up, they continue to play the map, and in the midst of all of the excitement, they are 3,000 gold up as well.
You ask who's the real carry of this team, and it feels like if you have to look on the opposite side, even with all that BDD did in other games and in other, other splits in summer last year, it seems like he's almost taken the backseat on the Galio, which is funny to say, in the mid lane.
But consider this. Everyone on the side of Kingzone has taken the backseat. We've seen Khan jump onto Gangplank, take one for the team, throw out some ultimates. In the late game, he'll get his chance, but he's role-playing Peanut. He's played Zac, he's played Sejuani, he's played the tank junglers. BDD, sometimes it's Galio Scion time. He's taking a step back. Prey has had plenty of games where he looked like a utility AD carry. He role-played one and bought Aegis in game number 1.
Yeah.
And Gorilla's a support, but he's had his Alistair moments where he's carried. The fact that they can all take turns carrying, but also walk up and smite steal. That is the sign of a great team, Valdez. That is something no squad has ever had. 5 people that can turn on and turn off, whether they are the primary carry of a game.
It's a team of legends, or at least that's what it's becoming. A lot of these players, beginning to make an even bigger name for themselves. Some of them already have built that name. Guys like Peanut, Prey, and Gorilla. BDD and Khan looking to solidify that. Now he's just going 1v3 at this point. Finally, he's going to have some help from behind. The double taunt comes in, and the flash on in with the Justice Punch. That's going to be 1 kill. He's going to be locked down. Trick, you're not going anywhere. As it is now 5-on-4 as they push them away. Gonna pick up a couple of kills and probably the Baron off of this.
They over-pursue because they want the Baron on the back end. They'll clear the couple of wards. They'll turn on to Olaf's dead. The hopes for BBQ of contesting this Baron are dead. Kingzone DragonX want to go to 12-match wins. Pick up a couple more, and they are guaranteed first spot after KT's misfire yesterday.
That they are. Kingzone, we thought they had reached their limit. They were the ones with formerly Longju in last year. They were the ones slated to be the victors, but they look almost twice as strong here in 2018. I can't believe I'm saying it, but Certainly looking that way as, well, we have just another fantastic King Zone replay as if we didn't have enough of those.
And they just walk in there, 3v1 they think, as the Nidalee looks like free food. Unfortunately, Galio and everyone from the side of King Zone are there to back up Peanut. Went Rod of Ages for a bit more extra health. That'll allow him to live until the ultimate from the Galio arms, and then the dreams are crashed from BBQ. Peanut will have to use his Rift Herald at some point, as you can see, everyone has a go at damage this game. 4 Supermen, and then Gorilla saying, but I'm not about the damage, please. Please, Papa, please let me please let me be on their level. You're great, Gorilla. I love you too.
He's doing nearly 3 times the damage as Ignar, so there's something for that to be said. He certainly has had some PogChamp plays himself on the Braum. He's 7-0, he's undefeated on the pick. He's looking to get 8-0. We'll see if they can close this one out. Still early, funnily to say, as we're here at 23 minutes. But again, Baron is taken, the Rift Herald is up, and the push begins.
Rift Herald was summoned as they were taking the Drake as an afterthought. Continue to push in. A lot of siege here. Varus and Nidalee to poke around. Second charge comes in. Meanwhile, this is what happens when Gangplank has no lane pressure elsewhere. Khan will take the turret. They get the mid lane turret. They don't need Banner of Command. Unnecessary for King Zone DragonX. Maybe they shouldn't be allowed to buy it, Valdez.
Even Shelly's going all out. She's got 1,000 health. She's like, no, I got 1 charge left in me. I'm going to go for this inhibitor. Gets that extra damage with the inhibitor. Peanut inside the base saying, come at me, bro. As the push never seems to end. 4 members in the bottom side. Galio, BDD alone up in the top side. As still 1.5 minutes left over on this. Okay.
Man.
On this Baron, and Peanut says, hey, Ghost, I heard you wanted to play up against King Zone. Well, I'm going to push you out of this one. See you
Neither
later.
of these champions have built for poke, and yet Prey and Nidalee together can probably kill someone with 2 Qs. Ult here for the emergency engage.
They're going to try for it. Running at the Varus, and he disappears. As he said, he's got that ability, but he disappears. And Temps now getting extremely low. They're fighting for their lives, but they have nothing left to fight for at this point. King Zone with the Baron up. Bannon minion. That's Steve Bannon himself coming on into this one. Trying to get the win in 25 minutes perhaps as the super minions pushing on in the mid lane. That's going to do it, guys. The curtains are closing early. The show's over. Getting that last kill is Peanut, and down will go the Nexus. The Zonias once again. Not the first time we've seen that. Quick 2-0 from King Zone DragonX.
And Bruce Bannon is what we call the Bannon minion when it comes to King Zone, because he turns into the Hulk. And King Zone DragonX turned into the Hulk this series. They lost to BBQ in the first round robin. They were having none of that this time. Everyone decided at the same time to fire, and they summoned something amazing against BBQ Olivers. Was it clean? No. Was it exciting? Oh God, yes.